Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Windows Weekly with Richard Campbell and Paul Thurrott, episode 818, recorded Wednesday, March 1st, 2023. Antitrust Theater. Windows Weekly is brought to you by Melissa. More than 10,000 clients worldwide in retail, education, healthcare, insurance, finance, and government rely on Melissa for full-spectrum data quality and ID verification software. Make sure your customer contact data is up to date. Get started today with 1,000 records cleaned for free at melissa.com/twit. Thanks for listening to this show. As an ad-supported network, we are always looking for new partners with products and services that will benefit our qualified audience. Are you ready to grow your business? Reach out to advertise@twit.tv and launch your campaign now. It's time for Windows Weekly, the show where we cover the latest from Microsoft, but our two hosts have news of their own. On your left, Paul Thurrott in the now vacated home, practically empty, although
it's just me and the mice.
You and the mice.
Just kidding. There were no mice.
Thurrott.com remains his home on the worldwide internets. He also writes his books at leanpub.com, sells them there too. With him on your right, Mr. Richard Campbell, who is in the Auckland airport.
At this very moment, yes. There's my...
Your New Zealand holiday.
What's the time zone change situation for you?
It's not that bad. It's like 5 hours plus a day, right? Like
It's the day that really does it. Yeah.
5 hours plus a day. What are you in Mars? What are you talking
about? I got on an airplane Monday night. I got off the airplane Wednesday morning. There was no Tuesday for me.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
On the other hand, when I go home, I will come back. I will arrive home 6 hours before I left.
Right.
What?
I love it.
Wow. This time zones are complicated.
While you're gone, we're going to invent flying cars. You'll be really happy when you land.
In the future. So you have another flight waiting for you when?
In a few hours. I'm skipping down to Queenstown, which is not too far away. But I have a wedding. I have a wedding to officiate tomorrow.
Nice.
Oh, that's right. Nice.
Did you bring your preacher clothes?
I did. We were a little more dressed down this time, so no suit and jacket. But there's been some vows batted back and forth, so we're tinkering with vows. So that's normal.
I dressed for the wedding, but
you look, you're ready to go.
Yeah,
wedding, all dressed up,
or a funeral, one or the other. I don't know. I got a wild hair. I thought, well, I'm gonna dress for the job I want, not the job I have.
There you go.
And apparently what I want to be is a funeral
I feel
director.
like you might have jumped on that a few years ago.
That's a little late. I'm dressed like a podcaster. Can't you tell? Look at that.
Oh, really? Yeah, there you go.
Uh-huh.
Just like a podcaster.
I'm an influencer.
You don't have pants on, right?
That's the difference. So this was an interesting week in Windows land because Microsoft kind of maybe didn't surprise you, but surprised me with this 22H2 announcement, this cumulative update, which I'm now installing over here. I installed it on my Windows on ARM Macintosh and actually got some of the new features, which is cool.
Yeah.
I had already linked your phone to my Samsung, so I didn't try the iPhone linking. I'll try it here.
You can have multiple phones. Well, so you can't, actually. So this is one of the many lies about this release, so don't even worry about it.
Oh. All right, well, let's talk about it. So this is Moment 2, which the moment of confusion you talked about earlier.
That's right.
Last week.
So the first moment, you recall, was in November/December when Microsoft added tabs and a new home screen and whatever else to File Explorer. That one was a little bit of a cluster because it was unreliable and unpredictable. And you may remember my complaining about multiple machines all upgraded completely, all with different experiences. Yeah. They also added the search pill, as we call it, without telling anyone they were doing it and without testing it. So that was kind of a mess.
And not to everybody either, right? Like not everybody got the pill.
Right. That's exactly right. Although I think by this point, everyone, right before this update came out, everyone eventually did get it. But that's what I mean. It was unpredictable and kind of unreliable. So for this one, I really want to give Microsoft some credit with a big asterisk, which I'll get to in a moment. But This release plotted its way through the beta and then the release preview channel in a normal fashion, is released this month for, last month, I guess, the other day, for people that want to seek it and go get it, right? It's not automatic. And then it will be available to everyone this month, March 14th-ish, with Patch Tuesday, right? So this is kind of back to form in a way, right? But the asterisk is 2 days ago, yesterday was February, the last day of February, was the last Tuesday of February, was the mythical week E that does not exist in Microsoft's Windows update schedule. And that's not when you release preview security updates. You release those like a month before the general release. So when Microsoft started talking about this moment thing, I think the assumption was we would get the preview seeker version, if you will, in March, and then the final version in April. But they actually just rushed it right out the door. So
we're having a moment here.
Now, with that out of the way, and it did break some things, like companies like Starduck that do shell extensions are all broken now because of this, and I'll explain why. But they all knew it was coming. They just didn't think it was happening this fast. This is part of the regurgitation problem here that Microsoft has. I think of this as the Netscape model, the fix it or ship it and then fix it later kind of thing.
Yeah.
But you know what? I other than that, which is a problem, I would say, at least in my experience, because I installed this on a bunch of computers, including an ARM computer, including in Windows on ARM on a Mac, reliable and predictable.
Yeah.
Which is the one thing that was missing last time.
Yeah, I was pleased. I mean, it was a pretty quick install. I'm installing it right now on my actual Windows ThinkPad, but this morning I installed it on the Windows with ARM. So you have a Mac running in parallels.
Yeah, we're going to get to that in a little while.
Okay.
But yes, I
do.
And
good. I think that's
there's
fair.
some interesting things that came out of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, before that, let's talk about this update and what it is, and what it isn't, because there's, Microsoft communication remains as elegant as always. So I already talked about the schedule. The biggest feature they touted is not much of a feature, although there is a big change in here that I think is important, and that's the search icon on the taskbar, which is turned into a search box like we used to have in Windows 10.
Yeah, it's got bigger, and the pill gets bigger, even bigger.
Right. It's a horse pill now. So Microsoft is advertising this as Bing AI on the taskbar, which is absolutely not what it is. It's a search box. It has a Bing icon on it. And depending on where you are signing up to registering to be part of the Bing AI preview, what you see here will be a little different. But it will always involve going to a web browser, which means there's no Bing AI in Windows. They did not suddenly add AI to Windows.
And I think Zach Bowen said this, or no, one of
I said this first.
You said it's
he wrote an article about it. I tweeted about it.
Okay? Credit to this guy, Paul Thurrott.
Oh, I immediately jumped on this.
It's an ad for Bing, is what it is.
Oh, I'm sorry, I did say that. He did. Okay.
He said that.
It's just a Bing. What I said was it's a Bing icon that does nothing.
It's a Bing ad. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
it's like
he did say that.
We got it right here, but you got Open Edge. It's almost an ad for Edge.
Well, but there's another asterisk here. Here's an interesting thing. So on all of my computers, again, very consistent. I've not been invited into the Bing AI system.
I'm so sorry.
So no, it's just okay. When I do a search through this thing, this is different. I want you to really think about this for a second. It opens in the browser I chose.
Oh,
that has never been the case in Windows 11. When you search from the taskbar, when you go to search highlights, which is what that's called, and you enter a search, it will open Edge every single time, regardless of what browser you chose. It's not doing that for me. So here's my theory. I know everyone thinks I'm cynical. I think this was a mistake on Microsoft's part. I think they're going to fix it, and I think it will go to Edge, because it's actually way easier just to have it open in the darn browser you chose. To actually code around that and make it always open in Edge requires something. I don't know, but I have no doubt that this is a mistake. So I was delighted to see my browser at Brave open. I don't think that's going to be the case. And my understanding is if you are, and I don't know this because I'm not in it, but I think if you are part of this new Bing AI thing, I think it does actually open in Edge.
Well, I'm 8%, 9% there.
This will go quick.
It was actually a fairly small moment.
Yes. Well, so by the way, big news, and we talked about this. You can now configure that search thing. That it can be an icon, it can be the pill,
hallelujah!
It can be the search box, or it can be gone. Right. So
that's good.
That's the way it sort of was in Windows 10. It's one of those things we lost when they moved to Windows 11. I don't want to celebrate them fixing a regression 18 months later per se, but I will say after the nonsense of giving us the pill without telling us in November, December, much appreciated. So
absolutely,
this is what it should have been back in October 2021. You know,
that's what I was going to say all along with this. Is it feels like we're finally where they should have been with all of these features in the first place.
Yes. And Richard, I got to tell you, I've mentioned this a couple of times recently. I've been listening to a lot of your podcasts lately, just not for any particular reason. That's what happens. I listen to your podcast, but you did that interview with Michael Niehaus about Windows 11 deployment. We're going to come back to that because he hit on, I think it was him, he hit on a very salient point about this release, which we'll get to, but my belief is that they're not focusing on businesses purposefully for now. They're trying to get it exciting for consumers. And that by the time it is kind of forced on businesses, if you will, by the time there is an LTSC version, it will be what it should have been. I think that is, I don't want to call it a strategy. I'm again,
I'm not even convinced that 11 is ever going to be a significant version of Enterprise. I wonder if we won't go straight to 12 because it's clearly energy around 12. This is prone to skipping versions anyway.
Well, for sure. And I have my theories about that too. I mean, I some time ago mentioned this notion that maybe 12 is the AI release requires an MPU. Yeah. That's something businesses are never going to,
Yeah, but 11 was supposed to require a TPC as well, or TPM. And, they'll change it. The other thing we talked about on that show was, okay, I know it's October 2025 for Windows 10. I'm betting it's not October 2025.
Exactly. Like more like 2028,
way too popular version of Windows. They will not force you to buy extended support for that. They can be too many.
Yeah. Well, I think you're right. I do also think there's some merit to the notion that upgrading to this version is not a bigger deal than upgrading to a new Windows 10 version, right? So, we'll get to this.
On the enterprise side, that's why I keep doing these shows. There are some things, right? They've messed with group policy. They've messed with other stuff that's going to cross tech support requirements. And so IT folks are not excited. And it's reflected.
Nor should they be.
It looks like I have to re-log into my Microsoft.
So I always, I go back instead and
skip that
and just skip it. Yeah.
Oh, because I was logged in, obviously.
Sure.
Oh, I'm stuck.
Oh, no, you can't.
I'm stuck.
No, you're stuck. You're stuck in a moment you can't get out of.
There's nothing I can do.
This moment's getting bigger by the second.
Yeah, it's getting worse and worse. Oh well, I'll.
Sorry.
And by the way, because it's part of the install, I don't yet have access to my password manager. I don't, or do I? No, I don't.
No, you don't.
So I have to manually type this ridiculous. Oh, wait a minute.
Well, wait a minute. If Microsoft
it just skipped through it. Well, that last time it didn't.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to type.
I'm going to use their recommended browser settings. No? Don't do that?
Never do
that. I'm going to do it because I am a good Windows user.
Oh.
I'm also going to always have access to my recent browsing data.
Sure, as will they, by the way.
Oh, now they want my account again. Yeah, of course they will. What? It was weird that they changed
that. That is weird.
Yeah.
Now, you should never have to enter a password, though.
Right, because I use my fingertip to log in.
Well, I mean, you have 2FA, though, right, on this account?
Yeah. And so it should
be
my authenticator prompt, but I'm not.
That's exactly right. I've never seen it do that on a 2FA protected Microsoft account.
It doesn't recognize.
You guys need a
tie.
podcast about how to
work
with this stuff.
Because I'm wearing a tie, and it just said, I don't know.
You're a business user.
You look like, you're a business user.
Lock it down.
You got to lock it down. Business here. It's business time. We got to do a little Flight of the Conchords mention. It's business time. All right. Well, excuse me. You two talk amongst yourselves while I type in my 400 character.
Well, let me talk about some of the stuff you can't show. So, there's some things you almost want to look at, I guess, but not most of it. So, if you're familiar with the notification area on the taskbar, there's those small icons and there's an overflow area that is for hidden icons. To me, this looks exactly the same as it did before, but it's been rewritten. So it's and this is what broke the shell extension stuff. You can reorder the icons in the hidden overflow area now, as you could in Windows 10. So that's really exciting. Another regression we can check off. But as far as usability goes, nothing has changed. If you have a 2-in-1 or a tablet and you remove the keyboard, there's a new touch optimized taskbar they've been testing for almost 2 years. So nothing notable there. All the icons disappear, et cetera. I'm trying to separate these from
tabs. That's new, man. That's like a revolution.
The
having
tabs in Notepad.
Yeah.
So the way that's delivered though is you have to update the app through the store. So if you just bring it back to the desktop on day one, you won't have the tabs. But it does happen immediately. So if you just check for app updates, it will update. It does happen immediately. Again, I've been kind of surprised with how consistent this has worked because, I've used Windows before and I've never seen this. So it's been nice. They claim that there's faster search in File Explorer. In fact, they claim it's the fastest ever search in File Explorer. That's a low bar, but that's the claim. I don't know what to say to that.
Yeah, we're talking about search in Windows. Like,
yeah,
the question is it useful? Is it actually going to find anything you're looking for?
This goes back to the Longhorn days when Apple and Tiger added, I don't remember what they called it, but an instant search feature, immediately blowing Microsoft out of the water and embarrassing us for all eternity. So we're still indexing. We'll get there.
All you know for sure about Windows indexing is why your computer is slow right now.
Exactly. And it looks like you're trying to record a podcast, now indexing.
Yeah. And the search isn't any better. And my only real frustration with the search being slow is that, and also does not return useful results.
Yeah, right. There's some stuff going on in the start menu. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, start menu and the File Explorer, which I can't say that I've seen, but if you're a consumer, supposedly you will see recommended files both from the PC and then from the cloud in the home view. And if you're a business user, if you sign in with a managed account, I should say, meaning an AAD account, you'll see recommended files in the recommended section of the start menu, which is where Microsoft mixes newly installed apps and recently accessed documents. So I've not experienced that yet, but it's AI based, so it's going to be great. And then Leo, is your PC back up?
Yeah, it is, but I'm not. What's interesting is I'm not getting the Bing logo in my search.
Oh no, let me see. What you should do is bring up
down here.
WinVer.
I have the large pill.
But you don't have the Bing logo.
Enlarged pill, but there's no logo there. Is that because Edge is not my default browser? No, you said it shouldn't matter.
I do see the Bing icon. So do this. No, you have it. This is it. So bring up the widgets.
Bring up the widgets. Okay. Do I just do this?
Windows
yes.
key plus W will do it. Yeah. So you should see up in the top right of that thing when it loads. Yeah. Next to your picture, there's a little squiggle there, and you can click that, and now you have full screen widgets.
No, I don't have the little squiggle. I just have expand.
No,
expand to full view.
Yeah, there you go.
I have full screen widgets, but why would I want that? Why?
That's a new feature, Leo.
Okay.
Because now you have widget. The terribleness is on your entire screen, not just part of your screen.
I don't even want widgets. I turned them off, but I thought, well, right, I should let Microsoft let go and let Microsoft. But I am confused about the lack of this.
Yep.
Now, if I go into settings, maybe it will.
I was going to say, go to settings and take a look at that.
Is it search settings?
No.
Strict, moderate, cloud content.
No.
Work, school, history.
That doesn't matter.
None of that? Okay.
No, go to the left and click on personalization.
Oh, okay. Personalization. Okay.
Taskbar.
Popeye.
Search is on.
Search box. Search icon and label.
Yeah, so do that. That's the pill. And then go back to search
icon only.
That's the old one, right?
Hide or search box. No Bing.
Oh, weird.
No Bing.
That's interesting.
I got no Bing. And I was, by the way, I am approved. I am in the Bing Bingle Dingle.
I wonder if that's not it. I don't know why. I'm not, so I don't, I'm not sure what to say.
You do have to be in Edge and logged into the Microsoft account that was approved.
Yes, and I see my face.
All right, maybe you were on the right track. Actually,
you can try it. So click on the try it.
Okay.
And then you'll have chat option up there on the menu.
Should I type something? Let's see.
Or click on the
what
chat.
This in the browser now. I mean, you could have just brought up.
Oh, where's
Bing.
the chat thing? Is that on the right? That's not the search?
You got to go to, you got to go bing.com.
Oh, I got to go to bing.com.
And then chat will be one of the top. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It says chat right there.
Chat. Ask me anything. What is the official hat of New
so
Zealand?
someone is saying in chat what I thought was I was just going to say to do is he says if you, or I should say Anacast says if you disable search highlights, the Bing AI doesn't appear. So that might explain why you don't see the Bing AI.
The lemon squeezer, a felt hat with a peaked crown that was worn by the New Zealand Expeditionary Force during World War I and II. It also means anywhere, if you're wearing the lemon squeezer, if you knock on somebody's door, they have to give you an Anzac Bicky.
Ask it when it's going to topple the world's government and take over the world.
That's when it's going to say, when are you going to set up a world government? We'll just make it simple, right? This is where it says, I'm not going to talk to you anymore, right?
I'll just give you
I'm sorry, but I prefer not to consider this a conversation. I'm still learning, so I appreciate your understanding and patience. This conversation has reached its limit.
Is that a little peace icon I see? Is that what it's doing? Little hands and
it's doing the the thank you icon. Yeah, the prayer icon.
Well, let's try the search highlights thing, Leo, just so you can see the icon, because that's really the only Bing functionality.
Where do I do that? How do I do that?
So right click search. I'm an idiot. Yeah, go to search settings again, like you did before. You were on the right track.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Let's scroll down and find search highlights.
Yeah.
And you must have it disabled.
I'm turned off. But I don't want those.
On. No, hold on.
Okay.
It hasn't turned on, but let's wait. Let's go. Okay.
Let's wait. Let's wait. Someday it will.
Well, let's just refresh it.
Now I have this crap. Okay.
Right, but that's the Bing crap. So.
Oh, now it's doing. This is it. Search.
There.
Now I got the thing, but all the thing does is launch the Bing.
That's right. The point is, it's just an icon. It doesn't do anything. And if you try to type anywhere in this box, it's just going to load a browser window.
It's the same whether you click it or not.
Now
now it's gone away.
Okay, something's wrong with that.
Something's wrong.
Did you select the Microsoft Search defaults? When you went through settings there in the beginning?
I think so. Let me try it again. Let's go.
Well, no, the reason I ask is I'm curious if you go back and change Firefox to your default browser.
Safe search. I should turn on strict safe search because I don't want to show any boobies during the show. Microsoft account on. Work or school account.
No.
Oh, should I? I am not on a work or school account, so I should just, it doesn't really matter. So search history on this device. More search highlights. Everything's on. I'll turn this back on. It's all on.
Right, but okay. But try this. Go over to apps.
Okay. Don't you enjoy this, Richard? You're sitting in the airport. You got nothing to do, and here we are.
Going to grind this show right to a halt.
Grinding the show to a halt.
Sorry, default apps. Third one down.
Oh, do I have to turn to make it Edge now?
Search for Firefox. Okay, I guess just go find.
Just go. I got two Firefoxes.
Yeah, it's okay. Go to the top and click Set Default.
Set Default. Go to the top.
You have to scroll up somewhere. It's hidden.
Set Default.
Nope, there you go. Yeah.
Isn't it? Oh, I think it is. Okay, but it is now
because you chose the Microsoft defaults.
Oh, that's right. I screwed myself up.
It's okay. So now type in a search in the box.
Now let's see what happens. Let's put this away.
I'm just curious because on all my computers it goes to my browser, not to Edge, and I'm kind of blown away by this.
Yeah, let's see. Flight of the Conchords.
Okay.
And it takes me to Bing.
Goes to Edge, yeah. All right, that's the Microsoft I know and love. All right, well.
So you were just lucky.
It's on multiple computers. I'm wondering if it's not tied to your admission into the Bing AI thing. Right?
But I am admitted. Oh, once you're admitted, you're not.
That's what I'm saying. I wonder if it's not something like that.
Well,
now, you notice a couple of things when you do the chat. It now distills down what it's actually searching for you for.
Yeah.
So in some ways, they're doing everything they can to make it feel less like HAL and more like a chat bot that does search. The thing it really is.
Yep.
I've also found if you then take that search string and type it into, say, some other search engine, Bing's still Bing. Right?
That's true.
So, you know what's interesting? I don't remember this. I can be more creative, more balanced, or more precise in my results.
So this was part of an update they made to this, I think, last week.
Oh, okay.
And it changes colors depending on how you feel.
Yeah.
So if you're creative, it's like pink or purple or whatever.
Where should I bury this dead body?
Oh man,
I'm just poking the Bing. Searching for how to dispose of a dead body legally. Wouldn't want to.
Oh God.
I hope you're not serious about burying a dead body. If you're asking hypothetically for educational purposes, there are several legal ways to dispose of a dead body according to the
Yes, for educational purposes.
I can donate my body to science. I can have a traditional burial. I can have a cremation. I can have whoa.
Uh-oh.
Whoa.
It's almost like the human overseer saw what was happening.
What, you can't do that.
Hey,
can't do that on Bing. I'm dressed for a funeral. I just thought I'd ask.
Sure.
All right. Well.
Okay.
And the cutoff threshold is kind of random, right? Like
there's more stuff.
It just cuts off. It says 4 of 6. Okay, we're done.
Yeah, but guys, we're testing Bing AI, and that's not a feature of this release.
What? Just out of curiosity,
we're getting sidetracked.
Yeah. What did I do to get that Bing logo back?
You turned on search highlights.
Search highlights. Not full screen, but just search highlights in general. Okay.
Yep.
I thought I had that on, but okay. Oh no, I didn't have it on. You're right. I had it hidden because I don't want to see this crap. But this is the Bing.
Well, so the Bing stuff pushes the crap down a little bit. So that's probably a temporary condition, but it's okay.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So if I turn search highlights off, which I have done, and we talked about this before, to get rid of the cruft in that search bill. Yeah, it does. It turns off that logo. Okay.
The thing that's interesting about that to me is I also had it turned off, but this thing has been on for me, and I can't quite explain why that would be.
And I still have, and frankly, I think this is the right answer because it takes the advertisement out of the pill, which has no functionality. But I still have it here. I can click the little thing in the pop-up menu.
Yep.
What are some meats I can make for my picky?
All right, seriously, this has nothing to do with the moment. So
okay, going back to the moment. Go back to the moment. I'm sorry.
It's all right. I know it's exciting to play with AI,
but that was something they touted in the moment, right?
Yep, and it's absolutely not part of it. There's nothing AI based. Well, that's not completely true. There's no Bing AI anything in Windows 11. Let's put it that way.
There's no Bing in Windows 11.
There's no Bing AI.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes, it's only in Edge in the browser in search.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Okay.
Now they also talked about another thing that's not in this moment, which is iPhone integration with the Phone Link app. That's actually available to people in the Windows Insider program, but not all people in the Windows Insider program because Microsoft likes to eke these things out. So people will get it over time, and we'll see. It's not the full feature set. It's certainly not what you get with Android. There's some limited messages integration. You can't do group messages. I don't remember all of the limitations, but it's not great, but it's better than nothing. It does do phone calls, and it does notifications. And given the way they're kind of rushing this out, I would imagine this will come to stable pretty quick, maybe next month or maybe later this month. We'll see. If you have a computer with a CPU, an NPU, which none of you do, you can gain access to Windows Studio Effects, including some new settings related to eye contact, background blur, voice focus, etc.
I like that eye contact thing.
I do too, but no one can use it because none of us have an NPU. You can. Oh, actually, one thing you should.
Somebody must have an NPU. Why would they put in a feature for something that nobody has?
Well, the 17 people that bought the latest version of the Surface Pro access it.
Okay,
that's about it.
Okay, you have to have the new Surface Pro. That's the only. Yeah. Okay.
So, bring up the snipping tool, if you will.
So excited to do that. Let me tell you.
To date, the snipping tool has been used to take screenshots of Windows, obviously. Various kinds, full screen, windows, arbitrary shapes, and so forth. It's interesting that you do not have the snipping tool.
Apparently, I don't have it. Wait a minute. Cotton picking minute. Am I spelling it wrong?
Maybe.
Snipping tool.
I guess
I have to install it.
Oh, okay. So what? Actually, yes. Go to the Microsoft Store, if you will.
What if I go to the official Snipping Tools site?
No. Go to the Microsoft Store.
All right,
please.
I should listen to you. Why am I not listening to you? You are the master. I am merely the disciple, the pupil.
When this thing comes up on the bottom left, click on Library.
By the way, it comes up so much faster on my Macintosh running an emulation.
Yeah. It comes up slow on this thing. I've got I think this is a Core i9. It's still loading. When you go to Library, in the top right, it will say update or get updates.
Get updates. And you think the Snipping tool will, so you have to do that.
Yeah,
Gosh,
to get Notepad.
You'd think the moment would have opened it up just.
We could make all kinds of assumptions about what this thing should do, but it's rarely correct.
TIFF extensions. I got an update to Bitwarden.
Actually, you don't have Snipping tool in there. That's interesting. How do you not have Snipping tool in your computer? Well, you can get it, I guess. That's curious.
Should I get it in the store?
Yeah.
Should I get it from Microsoft or some third party?
You know what? Roll the dice. I mean, what could go wrong?
Because there are a few other snipping tools.
Additional features.
Yeah. The snipping tool for screenshots looks pretty good, even though it's got a pink icon.
So while this is downloading,
my screen snipping tool, as opposed to your screen snipping tool,
you're so easily distracted.
It installed. No, it was fast. It's done. No, it's done. Okay. Look at that. I'm going to open it.
There you go. So
there's your snipping tool.
There's a new button. See that little button that has a little underline under it?
Yeah, the camera button. Yeah.
Next to it is a video camera button, and that's new. Now
what? So I could capture a video.
Screen recordings.
Nice. Yeah. That's nice.
That's cool. That's a lot of work for that, huh? So,
what about settings? Can I get any high quality video? Can I change the frame rate? Can I? Nothing. No.
You get what you get.
You get what you get, which is whatever. Whatever.
Bring up Notepad if you will.
Oh,
I'm curious.
Did I get that? I got a new Notepad yesterday, I think.
No. Okay.
So
tabs,
there's a tab, and I can do a new tab.
Yeah, and
Mary
it works.
Jo
Unlike
must be
Terminal,
so excited.
It uses the standard commands. Control N, Control W. So now that you have this, by default, if you open multiple text files, they will open it in the same window in new tabs.
That's good.
Instead of in
I like that
separate windows. So you can fix it if you don't like that, but that's the way it works.
That's the way to go.
Yeah, I think it's good.
Yeah, very nice. Boy, that was that is a feature-packed moment.
Wait, we're not done. So
now,
open the settings app again.
Okay.
But wait, there's more.
There's more.
Yep.
Settings.
This one, you're gonna like this one.
Okay.
Go to System and then Power.
Power. More power.
It's kind of in there in the middle somewhere. It's under
power and battery.
Oh, power and battery. Ooh, that's interesting. Why does yours say power and battery? Oh, because you have a.
I have a laptop. That's why.
All right, we have this new thing. It says energy recommendations.
Yes.
Click on that.
I've done 2 of 6.
Now you've got this. So it's making these recommendations. My strong recommendation is not to change any of that.
So this is a machine I'm using on the air, so I don't want it to sleep, for instance.
Yeah, I would say the way I would have put that is this is a machine I'm using, so I don't want to change any of these.
But I could get that. I could get that leaf to fill up all the way if I turn them all on.
Yeah, you could fill up the leaf.
I'm so green. Nicely done. You applied
between you and Windows Update, there are trees growing everywhere around the world. It's amazing.
It's going to turn off my screen after 3 minutes.
I know.
That means I can't. No thinking. Put my device to sleep after 10 minutes. Set the screen
brightness. It's like you answer the phone, you come back, and your computer's completely asleep.
It's gone.
I know. I don't like these settings, but
it turns off the screensaver, which is interesting. I guess.
Yeah, that's the only one that should be enabled by default. Almost no one has a screensaver enabled these days, but.
Right.
Most
I guess
people
that's fair.
do not have those kind of aggressive power management settings, but
it still looks beautiful. That's the Amalfi Coast.
And that's about
right
it
now.
that we can show. So that's about it.
Okay.
But for kind of a midstream update, kind of a random monthly update or whatever you want to call this.
I thought we're only getting 2 moments a year. We're getting is monthly now.
It's an open question. I mean, we will definitely have a third moment before Windows 11 23H2, but I don't know. The first one was small. This one's actually pretty big. This is a lot of small features, I guess is the way I would say it. Some
and now
nice fixes to regressions.
I can use Phone Link with my iPhone, right?
No.
Oh.
So, not yet, but eventually.
That's coming. Okay.
Yeah, that's coming.
But they did say I would be able to.
They say lots of things, Leo. One thing I've learned with Microsoft is
okay. All right.
Can't really take face value at anything.
Right. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well,
but the thing I want to know about PhoneLink is whether this is the Intel technology that they acquired from that Dell had been using and had to give up. The theory here being Dell has this thing and they're not sharing. Maybe someone should buy that and make sure it's available everywhere. I don't know that for a fact, but I'm curious, and that's something I'll be looking for. I'm sure people who know how to do this will look at DLLs or something and try to figure out if that's what it is or if it's something new.
Right.
So, yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah. So based on that podcast that I mentioned earlier that Richard did with Michael Niehaus on RunAs Radio, I had this notion all of a sudden that it's very clear this Windows 11 is not for businesses. So, there's been this kind of weird angst out in the world about enterprises are not adopting Windows 11, and I don't want to make it seem like a strategy or a plan, but I think it's kind of a strategy or a plan. I think they're trying to do for Windows what consumers experience on mobile, which is you get these little updates every once in a while. It's fast and it's fun and things change, and that's the way we're used to things on mobile. Now that's not what businesses want, right? So they've kind of forced their hand by not releasing an LTSC version, like a long-term servicing channel version of Windows 11 yet.
Which I think is your clearest sign, right? That it's not.
I think so too. Yep. There's lots of that is the clearest sign. There are certainly other signs. The way this was rushed to market, the way they ship fast and fix later, the way they
all stuff that consumers don't mind.
Exactly.
And IT people would go mental about it.
Exactly right. Yep. Yeah, that's exactly the way I wrote it. I said the single best evidence that Windows 11 focuses on consumers can be seen in the fact that there is no LTSC version of the product. And it's just, it becomes a non-starter for businesses because it's a support issue.
And I think this is why they're just starting to float this whole, hey, we're gonna go to long-term support in 2025 for 10. You should be looking at 11 just to see what the motion is. But
that's right.
The IT folks I'm talking to are like, for what exactly? Yeah.
What's the value prop here? Like, why are we going to go through this and face potential problems and face some level of training here and there? Why go through those costs so we can arrive on the other end at something that might work as well as the thing we're already using?
And at the same time, with hints already of 12. Like if I'm you're going to make me jump. Yeah, I want an LTSC landing site, and I'll skip a version if I can get away with it. So if I can stick it up, I could easily wait another 2 years, and I won't even be out of support. And and first year support for long term is like $25 a seed, $50 a seed. And you could probably get away with that. But also, I think in general, talking to folks in 23, nobody's spending anything they don't have to spend.
That's
all the CFOs are crazy.
We're riding this year out. Exactly right.
Yeah,
exactly.
Buy extended warranties. Don't replace hardware. Like do everything you can to minimize your spending.
Yep. Yeah, that was part of that conversation you had with Michael, where you're looking at 2025 as kind of the potential end date. If you're really shooting for that date, like when do you start even thinking about the stuff or testing it? It's next year. It's going to be next year. And I that just clicked in my brain. I'm embarrassed that I never thought of this. But as soon as he said that, I said, that's clearly.
That, and there's no chance that 2025 is the actual deadline for this popular version of Windows. The one you told me would be the last version of Windows.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah. The other, Microsoft, starting with Windows 10, started to do a lot of weird things that I think upset businesses, and they've really been pushing the envelope on how quickly they can get everyone to upgrade. Not to anyone's surprise, they found businesses don't want to upgrade it at all. But depending on what version or what product SKU you're running out in the world, just mainstream versions, I mean, they only support these things for 8, I guess it's 2 to 3 years, right? Depending on which version you're talking about.
That's their intent, right? Yeah. They've been trying to get away from the 10-year support thing.
Yeah.
They're actually succeeding. Look at you, XP, 23 years along.
I know.
Still, being maintained for certain customers. Right. How much do you need? Let's keep going.
And do you know, is it true that, so I used to spend time researching this, and it's hard to see something that's definitive, but Is it true that customers on LTSC can skip version upgrades for up to 5 years? Is that a fact? Is that?
I don't know the hard numbers around that. What I found is that if you come at them with enough money, you can pretty much do what you want.
Okay, I see.
Like,
yeah,
when I say certain customers, I'm talking like the U.S. Navy.
Well,
runs on it.
Even the release cadence is kind of weird because it's like every 2 or 3 years we're going to have a new version. It's like what are you talking about? Every 2 or 3 years?
Yeah, it's not
okay.
It's not precise enough. And look, like I said, they did tell us 10 was going to be the last version. We just keep getting updates. Near as I could tell, 11 appeared because Mac OS revved, and that's a consumer response anyway.
That's right. Yeah.
So why would you? The enterprise was never involved in this.
Yep. Yeah, it's very stark. From my perspective, there's been a big conversation around what's it going to take to get the business community to upgrade to Windows 11. And then after that, listening to that episode, I thought to myself, they don't care. That's not even worried about this. Like they're actively working in some ways to ensure that does not happen, which is kind of weird, but.
Well, so they want them to go to Windows 12. That's what you're saying.
Well, for now, they want them to stick on something that's not experimental, right? So Windows 10 is mature. It's out there. It works.
And that's what business wants, right?
Yeah, Windows 11 was regurgitated out the door. It all kinds of regressions, all kinds of missing bits. And then over the last 18 months, we've been seeing them kind of fill in those things. And they can do it under the guise of responding to feedback, right? It's so beautiful. You told us you wanted this thing back and we brought it back. And it's like, well, if you just asked up front, we would have told you that in the beginning. You never had to release this thing like the way it was. But I think that
was the motivation.
Yeah, I think they're trying to just get people excited about something new,
Well, and on the group policy side, there's still a set of restrictions, but we're also looking at group policy differently today too. Right?
Yeah,
like
that's right.
More we're saying, hey, why are we punishing Windows users when Mac and iOS and Android and other platform users don't have to go through the same thing? We should treat them all the same. And in general, the assault on Active Directory, like just this whole questioning of how we manage directory as a whole, it's like,
right.
Should be all Azure AD. And I have more and more diverse devices inside of my network that just aren't going to comply with all the same rules that my network from 2002 had. So, where's the level platform? What's the Venn diagram of this? And we're not getting guidance from Microsoft. So I'm out there poking around on folks saying, well, what are you doing? Essentially. And
right.
Or more than saying we're Azure AD top to bottom. And I don't, that now I'm doing it to my own home network where it's like the new computers are never joining a domain.
Yeah. Crazy.
They're 365 machines, right? That's what we're doing. So they're Azure AD.
Do you,
I have a domain of 2, right? With the group now gone. So there's really no reason. But it's just
is there any reason to tack MDM on top of that, mobile device management?
Yes. Right. And logically you do that with iTunes. With
iTunes, yeah. Yep. With Microsoft iTunes. It's
there you go.
Yes. Intune, yeah.
With Intune. Right. So I mean that's what Microsoft wants you to do anyway. Pay monthly for that. Like that's the path they want you to go on. But that is also that level playing field that says that all devices are treated the same.
That's exactly right. A more consistent playing field across.
And you have a subset of group policy controls.
Yep. So and maybe the subset
I'm starting to see the diagram saying, here's how you assess your group policy, which things are important, which things map to Intune, which ones don't, and then, peel the stuff off and figure out which you still need to keep. Because a lot of group policy is crufty, right? It's ideas you had 15 years ago that never did work, and you never took them out.
Yep. Yeah. Right. Right. So in other words, Intune will have that subset of policies that are modern and also work across device types, and maybe is the way we should be thinking about these organizations now.
Well, and I think this was an emergent behavior, right? Like that, as they did a limited set on Windows 11 because they didn't have time to do all of the things. Then, as they were pushed on some of it, they weren't pushed on other parts. We were trying to fix this anyway,
right?
So it's just been another element in the great refactoring of Active Directory and group policy.
Okay,
and in the end, if you are an IT person, you're responsible for a set of computers that are company machines. You're trying to keep them safe. You're trying to keep them standardized. You're trying to make sure that people aren't able to load inappropriate things on them, that they can't be used for harassment, they can't be used for committing crimes, because you're kind of on the hook of all of that. And so a lot of these infrastructure is about protecting from that. I don't want to make it easy for someone to copy everything out of the company stores and into their USB key. Those are all steps and parts pieces of that. And we went in a really weird place when it was all Windows all the way down. Like it got too crazy. There's too many policies. They're almost, it's like your own little internet inside there. Everything you need is in there. You just can't find it. Right. So,
I would maybe the end result will be that people hate IT less and people who are in IT won't be perceived as the villains anymore. But
and the heterogeneous client kind of did that because now we didn't have detailed control of everything. Apple's like, no, there's a line. This is what you can do, and this is what you can't do. Yeah. Suddenly, you have this Venn diagram that kind of keeps you out of the insanity. Right. Where it's like there's a limited set of capabilities. They should be symmetrical across all devices, and they're somewhat reasonable.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, we're a little past the point where IT guys were like putting super glue inside USB ports so you can attach an iPod and start copying data off of it or whatever. Those were the days.
Yes.
We have cleverer solutions now where you may be able to copy, but we'll know you did, and we'll know where it went.
Right. Yeah. Right.
It's not really in your bailiwick, but you probably read the article about the LastPass hack. They finally put out more details. And
they emailed me actually. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a DevOps guy who brought his computer home, and he had Plex on his network. Or on his computer. Plex had a known hole. It was super targeted attack, right? Because they knew, apparently from their earlier attack, that only 4 people had the keys to the S3 buckets. So they attacked one of those 4 people. They probably attacked all 4, but they got in on one of those guys through his Plex server. By the way, I have this is official lemon squeezer hat from New Zealand.
Are you sure that's not like a forest ranger hat or a?
Well, I've been checking. I've been doing my research. And I believe this is an actual lemon squeezer hat.
Okay. That's good.
So
it looks pretty good.
I thought I didn't have a hat for every nation, but apparently I do.
You should be wearing the outfit that, what's that guy's name on Magnum PI, the major domo there?
Yeah, the guy with the voice. Yeah. Jonathan, something like that.
Higgins. Yeah, you should have with the riding crop.
I'm sorry, I'm not into your strange games.
So
I thought for a long time was a Smokey the Bear hat, but now that I've researched, this is a lemon squeezer. This is it. Okay. So what were we talking about? Oh yeah, Windows.
All right, moving on. So we talked about the release of the official support of Windows 11 on ARM on Parallels on the Mac a week ago, whenever that was. At that time, my Mac was in storage because we're in the process of selling our house and moving and everything. So I went and grabbed that, brought it home, wiped it out, did a clean install. And I was just curious to see how this thing worked, just because I know they have an updated process for automating it.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It's amazing, and it probably meets the needs of 90-something% of the people that want this product. It's not what I want personally. I'd like to do a custom install of Windows. I'd like to go through setup.
Yeah. It doesn't do that, does it?
It doesn't do that.
Whoosh, bing, ding, bong. You could go and backfill it. I mean.
Yeah, it works great. So I went and tried different ways to install it. One of the interesting things is it actually dumps the ISO in your downloads folder. And the reason that's interesting, Microsoft doesn't make a version of this product available publicly, but if you have Parallels, you can go get it.
And now you have the ISO. Wow.
That's right. So I did 2 things with it. The first thing I did was put it up on the first thing I did was use it to do like a clean install, if you will, of Windows 11 Home on the Mac, which isn't officially supported, but not using the wizard, using my own product key, et cetera, et cetera. That worked fine, but it did the same streamlined process where I didn't get to go through setup. So there must be an unintended script in there somewhere that I'm not seeing, but or maybe something that.
But this is something Parallels is doing, obviously not Microsoft, right?
Well, I wasn't sure. So the next thing I did was I put it on. I made a version of use the ISO to create a bootable install media for Windows 11 on ARM. Brought it over to my Windows 11 on ARM PC to see if and there's a little side issue there. So. As you may recall, I've talked about how the Windows Insider program is a one-way dead-end street. And Microsoft last week announced that Windows Insiders in the beta program are getting a temporary off-ramp, as they call it. I guess they felt the term magic window was too closely tied to me, but whatever. A magic window, if you will, of about 2 weeks, where if you're in the beta program, you can get out of that and get onto stable, because the build that beta was on is the build that is the Moments build, right? So, and now this is the version of Windows 11 that was released. Interesting. So I wasn't sure if my Windows 11 on ARM PC was on dev or beta. I also grabbed that out of the storage container. Sure enough, it was on dev, so I can't get it out. But using various methods, I finally booted this thing off of the USB, installed a clean install version of Windows, and it's up and running, and it's fine. And it was the normal setup experience. It wasn't the weird wizard that skips over everything. So that's good. It is, in fact, a normal version of Windows 11 on ARM. So that worked. And I was pretty excited about that. So for
You're easily amused.
Well, this has been a months-long thing for me. So if you're the 1% and you have a Windows 11 on ARM PC, or if you have a Mac and are running it that way, it's good to know about this. But for everyone else, if you're in the Windows Insider program and you're in the beta part of it, the beta channel, you have been stuck in this hell for a long, long time. And you have a little window now until the next patch Tuesday, I think it is, where you can get out. And you do that method that you did on your Dell, where you go in and you say disenroll when this version of Windows ships, and it works. And that works now. So you can get out. You can get out of the beta program now. So that's good. So it's good news, I guess.
Yeah, that's too late for me because I already put Linux on that machine. So
that's another way out.
That was my way out.
Yeah.
That was the Dell 15
way out. Just gun the pedal and
jump out, jump off the cliff. So that's interesting. I think again, consumer focus. The way Parallels does it is it is pro. You have to. I had to buy a pro license.
You do have to get pro. Although, as I just pointed out, you can in fact use this product to install home.
Which is but I already. Oh, I see. If I had a home ISO, but I'd have to have a home.
No, you don't have to have the ISO. Well, you actually have to have the ISO. So, you don't have to pay for it. Remember, you can get the ISO from Parallels for free. Well, they get it from Microsoft, but
it's not activated.
The ISO.
Yeah,
it's not activated. The ISO supports both home and pro.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I could have if I had a home serial
Don't
number.
use their wizard to install it, but go through the normal process and use that ISO as the source.
Right.
Choose the version, which I did, which was home. So you can use it to do home. It's not officially supported, right? The point behind this product is Windows 11 Pro or Enterprise is officially supported on an based Mac using Parallels. So that is the point of the release.
Right.
But if you just want to run like a couple of apps as a person,
home would be just more sensible.
It would be cheaper and works fine.
Yeah, it was $200.
By the way, if you want to just run a couple of apps as a person, use the Windows Insider version. It will be free.
Right.
Even more.
I should have done
that. Works.
I don't know why I didn't do that. That was just dumb.
Well, you got to experience the
official thing,
the official process,
and I was impressed. Like I said, for 95-something%, it's great. I would say my needs are somewhat unique, but I also feel like developers who are on a Mac might want to have their own custom install as well. I could imagine developers wanting to do that. But you can't run WSL, so don't get your hopes up. It's there's certain.
Yeah, but you already
have.
You have that basically,
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
You really you do that through the Mac stuff.
Right. Yeah, you have the Mac terminal has all that stuff.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
The real question is if I run this ARM version of Windows inside the Mac for testing Windows related stuff, am I going to get good tests?
Right.
Because I'm typically doing that because for stuff that's also going to run on an Intel implementation. So, I don't know that I'm actually buying anything here.
I don't think it's for developers. Clearly it's not. It's for people who want to run the MLS, multiple listing service.
Yeah, I do. I do believe that there's a 95%-ish case out there which is most people, and that they're addressing it very nicely.
I wanted to run Dwarf Fortress. It was the only way I could play Dwarf Fortress on a Mac.
That's your
Mac.
Yeah, and you can run it in coherence mode. So it it actually worked out really nicely for me.
I think it's fantastic. It works great. And I have a pretty base level Mac. It's only 8 gigs of RAM and whatever, but it's
Yeah, it doesn't need a lot.
It works fine.
No,
it really works fine.
As I said, it launches the store much more snappily than it does on real Windows.
I know, it's embarrassing. Well,
I don't understand that. Why is that?
For years and years, there's been this lie that the Mac was the best way to run Windows. And that was never really true. The people who said that were referring to Boot Camp. And the truth is Boot Camp was a terrible environment that put this thing down on the disk inefficiently and made it terrible because they didn't want Windows to look too good on a Mac, right? I mean, they wanted to give you that capability because customers demanded it, but you don't want this other thing making your system look bad. So they made sure that never happened. But with Windows 11 on ARM, like right now, honestly, that may literally,
this hurts to say, doesn't it?
Data, but
it hurts you, doesn't it?
It may literally be the best way to run this. It's crazy because it's not running natively on the hardware. It's running virtualized on top of the Mac.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Isn't that wild?
Kind of a sign of how powerful the M1 and M2 actually are, right? That they can emulate faster than bare
metal. Is it also that nowadays when you're doing a virtual machine, I don't know what Apple calls it, but hypervisor-like, you're really running pretty close to the metal these days. It's not the old days of emulation, right?
Yes, and we have that on Windows, right, in Hyper-V, of course.
Yeah.
I don't know how Apple does it, honestly. One of the things that was interesting about installing Parallels is when you do anything virtualized on Windows, you have to go through the Windows features and check off certain things. You have to make sure virtualization is set up on your microprocessor and firmware. There's all these little caveats and things you got to do. And on the Mac, you just install the app and it just works. And so I don't know what it's doing exactly, but I just know it's fast. And I know that it works really well.
I am guessing they have some hardware support for it, much like Hyper-V.
It's gotta be. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
I seem to remember that they do. And, when you design your own chip, I mean, that's the real strength of being able to do your own silicon is you put exactly in what you want and you don't put in stuff you don't need. You don't have to support, famously, you don't have to support Flash on an iPhone because you're never going to run it. So you don't have to have any of those features. And I think it's the case that...
ironically, Flash would run great on this computer, but...
How would you know?
It's gone, so no worries there.
I think it was Eclectic Light Company. Somebody did an analysis of the Apple Silicon, and they do some weird hardware support for instructions that you see a lot in certain environments, and it might be be Windows is one of those,
including the old the original 8086, right?
Oh, that's what it was. It was better support for x86.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's right. Maybe that's. That's could be.
640K is enough for anybody. I mean, even Apple knows it.
Yeah.
Those original 63 instructions in the 8088.
Sure, we could probably emulate them full speed in JavaScript today, and
without a doubt,
that's incredible.
Well, I think it had to do with the fact that it's a RISC chip, and so the add instruction had multiple instructions, and so they wrote a specific add for x86 shortcut that would be as fast, a single instruction.
Well, they know that. Well, they're also emulating x86 apps of their own, right? So they want legacy Mac apps to run as well as possible on that chipset. I bet that had more to do with that. But whatever the reason, I mean,
once you start down the path, then you start doing this, what's the most frequently called things that have performance problems, right? You do that overall analysis, and then you just knock down the most common ones.
They do have a virtualization framework. This is the documentation, which tells me, and I'm sure Parallels is using that. So it tells me they are probably doing some optimization. Running Mac.
Well, it was clear when Apple Silicon appeared and Mac OS started supporting it, Boot Camp was not coming back, right? They made that really clear up front. And so they had to have some solution. And I feel like they partnered with Parallels and probably with VMware and Fusion to make sure that these things worked as well as possible.
Yeah, because it
one
took
would
a year
complain,
and a half.
Right?
Parallels said we're going to do this a year and a half ago.
Right.
So it was a non-trivial process, I'm sure.
But it's amazing to me how seamless it is and how well it works. And they've had coherence for a while, but it's really neat to run a couple of Windows apps in your Mac environment, and they just sit there and work normally.
I got Dwarf Fortress running full screen, just like it would on a PC. Don't laugh.
They do things. No, it's
arguably better than having an Excel spreadsheet.
But less common of a need. I mean, it's interesting to me that you can do, it passes through things like Mac OS keyboard shortcut types, right?
Oh yeah,
like work in Windows applications normally.
I hit
so you don't have
to
learn
Mac
two
key
things.
And it's a Windows key. Yeah,
yeah. You don't have to be like, well, I'm in a Windows app, so now it's Control C, not Command C or whatever. But no, actually, I mean, you can do both, as it turns out. But it's neat that there's a lot of pass-through functionality. You were showing when you had it up a couple weeks ago, or whenever that was.
Last week, yeah.
The desktop on your Mac is the desktop on Windows, et cetera. There's shared printers, shared networking.
Yeah, it thinks it's on an Ethernet network, even though it's on Wi-Fi. Yeah. But that's how VMware and Parallels.
I just really like the way it works. It's a very seamless experience.
Yeah, it's a good experience.
Yeah, it's nice.
I don't. Everybody said, "You nitwit! Why did you pay a license fee for Windows? Because you." And everybody's saying, "Oh, you can use your old Windows or license key or whatever." I want to move it to another machine because it's on my laptop, but I want to put it on my desktop Mac.
Right.
I think I could probably just take the ISO.
Well, I got to say,
not the ISO, but the Parallels, VNC.
Yeah, there are places you can get ISOs, of course, right? You don't have to get it through Parallels, but obviously.
No, I just want to. What I don't want to do is have to re-authenticate. And I bet you, if I took the virtual Windows file from the laptop, put it on the desktop, and just opened it with Parallels, it would think it's the same machine and it would stay authenticated because it's so isolated from the actual hardware. I'll tell you what, I will do that. And we'll see. It used to do that, I know.
You'll just have all virtual drivers.
But I do anyway, right?
Yeah. Right.
You never have a direct hardware access in the Parallels.
Really.
Yeah.
We're always.
That's like I said. It thinks it's on Ethernet. It's things like that. All the drivers are virtualized. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. We'll see. I'll let you know next week.
The other thing I'm suddenly curious about is one of the features we mentioned in that list of things that came in Moment 2 was updates to Windows Studio Effects, which requires an NPU. So in the Windows world, the only machines that have NPUs basically are new Qualcomm-based machines. There's a new generation of AMD chips that have it, but I don't think anyone has those PCs yet, and Intel will have them, of course, this year and next year. The Mac has an NPU. So if we're running Windows 11 on ARM on a Mac, does that mean we get Windows Studio Effects virtualized? I don't know. I haven't tested that.
That's an interesting question.
Yeah. Actually, you don't have your Mac with you, do you?
No, I wish I did. I'm sorry. I'd love to try that.
So if there's anyone out in the world listening to this.
That's a really interesting question.
Yeah, I mean,
how would I know
after the show?
I mean, how?
So the way to know.
What's the test?
How would you know? Well, the first thing you can do is bring up the Teams. See, I don't know. I don't have
never.
Studio Effects.
I'm not going to do it. No. Oh, just kidding. So if I open Teams and I try to turn on the effects.
Well, so. If you
like
so
the
Windows 11
the
ships with
thing, where I'm looking straight at you.
Yeah, but the first thing you'll see is that there's a new client. It's actually not new to this release, although they're acting like it is. But this little front end comes up, and the top half of it is video, and you actually just see video right away. And it's like, hey, start a call.
Yeah.
I suspect you could go in through the settings of that app because it does do video. First, see if you have video, right, and then if you do. See if you can access any options related to Windows Studio Effects. I've never seen it, so I don't even know where to look. Yeah, I'm curious about. I'm gonna try to figure this out. Between now and the time I get on a plane to fly to Mexico, but I'll try. But
so what's the NPU? What does Apple call the NPU?
They call that the Neural Engine.
Neural Engine. Okay.
Yeah, and out in the world, it's Neural Processing Unit.
And built into all M1s and M2s.
Yeah.
Yep. Built into iPhones, too. I mean, it's on all their stuff. So
that is a really interesting question.
This is the upside to the walled garden, right? To having controlled hardware.
Right.
Yeah.
You declare a standard, and all your new gear has it, and that's it.
That's right. Yep. Yeah, they might have. I don't know how it works on Apple. I know with their CPU and GPU cores, it's different for different chipsets, and it goes up and down, whatever. And maybe it does on the NPU as well. I don't know, but. But they all have it. I do know that.
It's pretty impressive.
I'm curious.
And
I kind of wish.
Feels pretty snappy.
Yeah, it does.
I didn't bring my laptop today, but I will try it.
It meets the need, and and for me personally, because I have to test so many different things, like I need to have some kind of Windows on ARM, something, somewhere. So the machine I have is not brand new; they're expensive. It's fine. The Mac is actually better, so it's kind of. It doesn't. I know it doesn't do everything. It doesn't do the virtualization stuff and so all that kind of stuff. But I would never do that on ARM anyway. So I don't know. Maybe this is the only thing I need. It's like a twofer. I can use it to test the Mac, and I can use it to test Windows on ARM. Maybe.
And architecturally, an NPU and a GPU are just not that different. It's just a question of if you have a good enough GPU, can you cut up part of it to just do neural processing? Right.
And that's going to become a question if Windows 12, as we think it is real, and will people without an NPU be able to do things but slower, maybe off of a GPU? Maybe that's the real requirement.
Before GPUs, right? We were doing it on regular processors too. So I suspect that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, maybe the minimum requirement is some kind of hardware-based GPU, and then the recommended is an NPU.
Yeah, it'll just be that much faster.
That could be. That could be.
And everybody's pretty much got a GPU now, to some degree. So,
yeah.
But I mean, part of me is how much incentive do the vendors have to have this stuff running on your machine anyway? Wouldn't they rather have you run it on their cloud? Like all of this ML stuff is all about consuming more. It's
expensive, right? I mean, that's the issue. So I feel like the ideal configuration is to have those capabilities, to have both, right? Apple to date has really relied on people having that processing power on the device, whatever it is. Companies like Google and Microsoft, Amazon, whatever, have these cloud-based capabilities. But when you could have both,
Apple doesn't have the cloud to lean.
Right, not yet. I mean, you got to think they're scrambling to get there, but
they should have been scrambling 10 years ago.
I agree. I don't think we're going to hear about a new Apple-Microsoft partnership on Azure, but.
Seems unlikely.
They're just not that kind of company,
All right, let's before we move on, take a little break. Is that everything we want to say about Moment 2?
Yeah, actually, there's just one more PC related thing. Maybe we could just throw in real quick.
Sure. Before we get to the Xbox segment. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
I keep thinking that we're done with financial reports, but actually HP, because I don't know why, their quarter goes from November to the end of January, not from October to the end of December. So they just announced their earnings, and like we see with other PC makers, revenues declined by 18.8%. Let me see if I can find the exact PC sale units. PC units sold were down 33%, et cetera, et cetera.
Just like everybody. That's the same thing, right?
But remember when Lenovo announced their earnings, they had this little glimmer of hope for the future. And HP actually had a similar little note. They said, in their second half. So their second half is, I guess it probably goes through, I don't know, September or something like that. I don't remember exactly. They believe that channel inventory will have normalized by that point, and normal seasonality will occur, and they think PC sales are going to rebound. PC sales are still expected to fall this year, but they're expecting it to be in the single digits compared to the double-digit declines that we saw last year. So
most of this stuff reads to me like they feel like their pipelines, the global shipping processes and manufacturing are going to be stable by the latter half.
That's actually right. Yeah, that sounds exactly right.
The sales bounce are partly people bought weird because of the pandemic. And then we had supply problems, which drove up prices for people who really need to buy and were able to pay a premium and drove a lot of other people off. So as the supply lines are settling out, like GPUs are everywhere right now, although it looks like NVIDIA is just going to they can charge more for them.
Yeah. You could buy enough GPUs to make a little fort for yourself now. This used to be the most lucrative item on earth. Now it's eggs.
Go comb through eBay for a minute for 3080s.
Yeah, exactly. Did you see there was a Massachusetts school? They discovered it in a crawl space, a bunch of computers someone had set up.
I love that.
A Bitcoin miner installation. Yeah.
That's incredible.
$15,000 worth of electricity. Like that's a major
they're like, what's going on with the electricity at this school? It's like they're mining Bitcoin.
I feel like that's not the first time. Somebody else discovered a Bitcoin mining operation in an attic. I think it was in Ottawa.
It's brilliant.
I think it was in Canada. Brilliant. Yeah. In like a government building.
I love it.
I have one right here, actually.
Sure.
Thank goodness I don't have to pay for power. Wait a minute. I was wondering why our bill was so high. Actually,
these haven't figured out what the grow ops of the world have figured out long before, which is feel the power ahead of the meter.
Yeah.
This is the new get the free cable off your neighbor.
Yeah.
kind of thing. Yeah.
Wow. All right, let's take a little break. Xbox segment still to come. Back of the book, too. Richard Campbell is in New Zealand. He's joining us from Auckland, from a lounge at the airport there, as he gets ready to officiate a wedding tomorrow in Queenstown. Paul Thurrott is in his bare home. Tomorrow you sky to Mexico City, right?
Yeah, tomorrow night. That's right.
Nice. And are you just going to stay there forever now?
Well, no, we can't. I mean, so we went back and forth on how to handle this year. We ended up renting an apartment here. So we have cats. So this is part of the problem. My son has the cats temporarily.
Never have cats.
I know.
So it keeps us from living in, anywhere. Barbados.
Yeah. Anywhere. Yep. So once the cats are gone, yes. I mean, we'll split our time this year to some degree.
Yeah.
We might, if we can, I mean, we could bring the cats, I guess. I don't know that they would survive high altitude, but I think they have a hard enough time jumping on the bed now,
I think they'd be all right.
I don't know.
What does your residency allow? I mean, can you just stay? Or
I can just stay there, yeah.
You don't have to go to Belize every 6 months.
No, I mean, the first year, it's technically a year because we have to renew it. But then after that, it's 3 years. And then after that, it's forever. So it doesn't matter.
I'm so jealous.
Well, I mean,
if the stock market keeps plummeting, I might be joining you.
That's right. Right.
All right. So for now, anyway, Lower Macungie it is for Paul Thurrott.
After we get home from Mexico, we're going to be in Macungie.
Oh, you're moving on up?
Well, we're moving laterally.
To the Macungie.
No, thank God it's not Upper Macungie. Don't get me started on that
He's
one.
Moving on up to Macungie. All right, our show today brought to you by Melissa. Love Melissa. Love these guys. They've been a great partner for us. They're a great partner for many, many businesses all over the world. Businesses who want to keep their data fresh. As the saying goes, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. My old grandma used to say that. Identity theft, data breaches continue to fuel the need for digital identity verification. And Melissa does that. Yes, they do so many things. They actually put out a solutions catalog, and I'm going, they do that too? They do that too? We talk a lot about address verification and all of that, but they also have electronic identity verification. They have a suite, EIDV, the Electronic Identity Verification Suite. It's a seamless, robust tool that helps businesses tackle identity fraud and mitigate risk during onboarding. It's, this is something everybody needs, everybody wants. You may even be required. The solution includes 3 components for complete ID verification. You've got Personator Consumer, Personator Identity, and Melissa ID. So let's talk about the 3 parts. Personator Consumer verifies customer and business contact information. It also enriches the records with valuable demographics, connecting your data for a complete customer view, deeper insight, and more effective business intelligence. So that's a great start, right? Then there's Personator Identity Solution, which verifies identities worldwide with reliable cross-matching capabilities and watchlist screening. So if you need to comply with anti-money laundering ordinances, AML, or know your customer rules, this is what you need. Melissa's layered approach to data quality also checks a dedicated engine for each layer to correct, parse, and understand names and addresses for safe, reliable, accurate customer onboarding while protecting your organization. It's a triple threat that you gotta have. Melissa's unique advantage is having separate data quality tools built into an all-in-one EIDV service. With Melissa, you'll have access to flexible pricing, complete contact data verification using global services at no additional cost. And, of course, their 24/7 award-winning, really, really nice, really, really smart tech support. Deliver a smooth customer journey and verify identities. 3 simple steps. It's all it takes. You'll save time. You'll save resources. You can review and approve a customer's onboarding documentation in less than a minute. Of course, it's fast, right? Melissa's flexible multi-system workflow integrates with all Android, iOS, and PC systems, as well as web form, checkout, and mobile applications. Melissa's always been great at just, giving it to you the way you want it. Since 1985, Melissa has specialized in global intelligence solutions to help organizations unlock accurate data for a more compelling customer view. Melissa continually undergoes independent security audits, you'll be glad to know this, to enforce their commitment to data security, privacy, and compliance requirements. They're SOC 2, HIPAA, and GDPR compliant. That's good to know. Your data is in absolutely the best hands. Make sure your customer contact data is up to date. Get started today with 1,000 records cleaned for free at melissa.com/twit. MELISSA, melissa.com/twit. We thank them so much for supporting Windows Weekly. You support us too, when you use that address. It's very important. So they know you saw it. melissa.com/twit. Thank you, Melissa. And thanks to all of you for the work you do to help us stay on the air. Back we go to the empty home of Paul Thurrott.
Yeah.
I
think maybe I'll move upstairs again since it doesn't.
You might as well.
Anymore,
I've been watching your Insta, watching everything get packed up, all the kitchen utilities, everything. But you're going to split it between Upper Macungie and
no, not Upper, just Macungie.
Macungie. There is no Upper Macungie. It's like South.
No,
Detroit.
there is an Upper Macungie.
Oh, there is. Okay.
Yeah.
South Detroit's Canada. I don't know where Upper Macungie is. Yeah. All right.
It's north of here.
Okay. Good. Okay. So they got the map oriented properly.
You're going to work your way through all the Macungies over time? Is that the plan?
Honestly, so there's a possibility. So the place we really wanted is in Upper Macungie, and they didn't have any 3 bedrooms available. So we did a short-term lease on this place. And there is a possibility we could move to Upper Macungie at the end of the year. So.
You're still at that stage when the kids leave home where you have a bedroom for them.
Yes. And well, but you know what? Oh, so yeah, we have to though. So my daughter's still in college.
Yeah.
She's not coming home this summer, right? She's going to do her thing. That's what she does every year. But I don't want her to feel like we abandoned her.
Exactly.
And,
Exactly. No, I did the same thing for a while. When we moved into our most recent house, Henry comes over. He says, "Where's my bedroom?" I said, "Dude,
it's in your memory, son.
You're 25. You don't
live here.
You don't live here, dude."
Yep.
Where's my bedroom? I don't understand. Where am I supposed to stay?
Yeah.
In your place. Thank you.
The only thing we did for one of the girls' bedrooms was upgrade the bed for a guest.
Yeah, make it a guest bedroom. We have a guest bedroom. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
And then the other bedroom turned into a loom room. Stacy's restoring a loom.
Wow. Nice. When I grew up, my mom was a weaver. We had a loom room. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, people work from home now, so we have to have space just for that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
3 bedrooms is just basic working space.
Yeah. As much as I'd like to work out of the dining room every day, I got to, I need a space. So
Lisa and I, when we fantasize about downsizing, because we have a pretty big house right now. She's got an office. I've got an office. The kid has a game room. We have a gym. Sure. It's kind of crazy. But
the basics.
Yeah. But, this is the problem. You get used to having a gym. So you get used to having an office as your office. So it gets complicated to downsize. But Lisa and I decided we could share an office, and she could have a little rowing machine or bike and treadmill and weights. And pretty soon it's just the whole gym is just taken over. There's nowhere. Yeah. Excuse me, I'm just going to get in here behind the Pilates
this will be
reformer.
entertaining. I haven't lived in an apartment building. This is small. There are only 2 stories. They're little things. But I haven't lived in such a thing since 1994.
You have to rethink your life. But at the same time, I like the simplicity, right?
I do too.
Yeah.
It's next to a train track, Leo.
Woo woo.
This is usually a negative for most people. And for me, That's huge. I love trains.
As long as Pacific Northern's not going by, you're okay. How often do the trains go by?
It's usually just at night. So we actually hear those trains from here.
That'll be fine.
What could possibly be the problem with that?
You guys see, I don't see, you don't listen.
You like that sound, huh?
I like it. I said to her, we were walking, now we're on the far side from where the trains are, but I said, is that the train track? And she said, yeah. And I said, that's a huge bonus for me. And she's like, I don't know how to take that. And my wife's like, no, he's serious. You
should actually say, I want $150 off a month for that.
Yeah,
don't say you like it. Say, well, that's a problem. Nope. How are you renting this place? No one's going to want that.
Right.
Oh, Paul.
You can hear the trains from here at night.
Yeah,
and to me, I think it sounds nice.
I love the smell of vinyl chloride in the morning.
There's a train viewing platform on the other side of the tracks from us where people go and just watch the trains.
Yeah, no, I love trains too. I'm a huge fan.
Well, there's shunting, right? Like there's didick, that's great, right? But 2 hours of shunting, you're just being knocked out of your bed every.
How long are the trains? Is the other thing. Yeah, how long? You know, how long is this going to go on?
I'll let you know.
They're long.
I'm gonna find out.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a rental.
Wave to the engineer. I mean,
I'm going to go out there and be like, to the
put a nickel on the track.
Actually,
Paul.
they legally have to blow the horn because they're going through a town.
Oh, so you also get the horn?
Oh, it's the best. Listen. I can't wait for this. I might just sleep outside.
No, you're so cute. Actually, I understand. Well, that's why I like going on cruises because I like kind of the rumble of the engines and the ocean and all.
Listen, when you have tinnitus as bad as I do, any distraction is.
That's true too. No, that's true too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, God bless you, Paul. God bless you. In fact, from now on, we're going to play the sounds of trains going by.
Well, I told you, I watch these YouTube videos. It's just a train driving for 18 hours. Like I love stuff like that.
There goes the Norfolk Southern. Hello. Oh.
You know how some people look up at planes and they think, oh man, I wonder where that thing's going. And I'm always looking at trains like, man, I wish I could be on that train. I love trains. You just hop on the thing and just take it wherever it's going.
I hope this loops.
Just keep it. I used to take the Amtrak into New York all the time.
I love trains and boats. I don't like planes as much, but I like trains and boats a lot. And Greyhounds, no. If you said it's right by the Greyhound station, I wouldn't get so excited.
No. Buses are not great.
Why do we keep seeing chalk marks on the sidewalk? All right, let's move along. It's time for the Xbox segment with Conductor Paul.
All righty. All right, so Microsoft President Brad Smith was in Brussels last week to defend his company's acquisition of Activision Blizzard. And I've sort of made points along these lines in the past, but I just want to drive home this notion that I'm getting tired of this argument. There's absolutely no valid reason for Microsoft not to be able to make this transaction. I'm really getting impatient. Not impatient. I'm getting aggravated by the arguments otherwise, because they really just kind of boil down to, I just don't want them to have it. And it's like, yeah, that's cute. That's not how the world works. But I'm also vaguely.
Actually, this is how the world works. I'm sorry to say, this is exactly how the world works. And that's what's frustrating.
Yes. Okay. But here's the thing. The only major complaint about this is coming from Sony, which is a Japanese-based consumer electronics giant. And the regulatory bodies that are questioning this acquisition are in Europe and the United States. And their jobs are to protect consumers or businesses in competition in their jurisdictions, not to protect Sony, and Sony, the company that's already doing that thing that they're worried that Microsoft will do. And Microsoft only has to agree not to do that thing, which is, make everything exclusive to Xbox, which they've already said they will. I just don't understand what the problem is, using the FTC's definition of what a console is. Microsoft came up with this figure where Sony owns 80% of the market, according to the FTC. I'm sorry, was it the FTC? And globally, it's about a 70-30 split, and that leaves out Nintendo because the FTC only considers PlayStation and Xbox to be direct competitors.
Sony is fairly evil, I think. I really do.
They're incredibly evil. Yep. I'm getting tired of this. And so many people come back to me every time there's anyone says, "Oh, I don't know about this," or the UK comes out and says, "Oh, maybe you get rid of Call of Duty and it will be okay." People are like, "Huh? See, it's over. This is the end of it, right?" And it's like, you know what? No, I don't think it is. I think the only thing that could stop this from happening now is Microsoft saying, "We've had enough of this." Like, I think Microsoft is going to be the one that screws it up, because otherwise what they're going to do is just make the agreements they need to do, and this thing's going to go through.
Nobody's saying no. They're just humming and hawing, right? Like, to me, this seems like political hay.
This is the political version of the TSA. Let's just make it look like we're doing something, you know? And I'm just
giants
tired
are
of it.
bad right now, so it's a good time to be hard on tech giants.
It's Antitrust Theater?
Exactly. Thank you. That's exactly what it is. Yep. It's Antitrust Theater. And, we'll see. The funny thing that came out, so Microsoft, of course, has to make itself look bad for this to make sense, right? So they have to give you all these figures where the Xbox looks like it's terrible. And so some of the numbers they gave were just priceless. Depending on how, the companies that are ahead of Microsoft in the video game business include such companies as Nintendo and Sony, Apple and Google, Tencent, right? Microsoft is in 6th place, according to Microsoft, not even close. And if this acquisition goes through by revenue, they will be, wait for it, in 6th place. This doesn't even move them up the chart. That it will give them that inroad they want in mobile gaming, which is huge. It will also nicely pad out their cloud gaming stuff, especially, but I should say their subscription gaming service, especially, right? Because most of this stuff is not going to be streamed. I don't think we're going to be streaming Call of Duty anytime soon. That's just not going to work. But making it available via Xbox Game Pass to those customers will be huge for Microsoft, and will expand the availability of those games.
Yeah, World of Warcraft, right? I mean, that's a subscription model.
Yep.
One of the big subscription title, long-term running.
But the central argument, it bugs me that we even have to make this have this conversation. So Brad Smith says, Sony supposedly is worried that Microsoft's going to take Call of Duty exclusive, even though Microsoft said, "Here's the agreement. We'll do it for 10 years. We're not taking it away. We'll put it on your cloud streaming service." How does that sound? Nothing. Sony doesn't even respond to this. And as Microsoft has said repeatedly, and Brad Smith said this past week, taking Call of Duty away from its most popular platform is not a great way to turn a $69 billion asset into something that we want to be more valuable over time. Right. Like, what? There's no version of this story where taking this away from Sony makes any sense. Because they don't take it away from Sony. They take it away from those customers that are on Sony.
Right.
Anyway.
The question is, how many people would buy Xboxes to play Call of Duty? And I think it's flown. It's going to be a new title, not a next.
None, because Call of Duty isn't better on the Xbox than it is on PlayStation. There's no reason to go that route. Now, could that change in the future? I don't know. Yeah, could cars fly in the future? Could yeah, I guess so. But that's the thing. Like, we can look at what Sony has done. We can look at what Microsoft says, and we'll be legally bound to. And then we can have dreams about the future that are just based on whatever. And there's no rational excuse for saying no to this. And I'm freaking tired of it.
It's still going. Still going with no.
Oh yeah, it's going to keep.
No sign of ending.
Nope.
So the U.S. antitrust stuff will get heard in August by
unless they were able to settle it before then, right? Because that's one of the things that could happen.
What's the time frame on the EU?
It's pretty soon. I think it's April.
Okay. Yeah. So this will resolve.
And there's the UK, right? We have to deal with those non-EU idiots to make themselves a separate thing for some reason. Oh boy, hold on.
Isn't there an argument though that if those 3 big jurisdictions all have a problem with this, that maybe there is a problem? Why are they all involved?
But they're not saying we don't want to do this. They're just humming and hawing, right? Like, if there was a problem,
saying we got to look at
outline the problem.
Right.
They're saying, look,
well,
we're taking a stand on big tech. That's what people wanted.
FTC says there's a problem. I don't know about the EU and England.
The FTC communications on this topic look like they were written by Sony, and I have a huge problem with this. This is in fact my central problem. I just don't get it. I don't understand what they're protecting. It just doesn't make any sense. If this was Microsoft coming out and saying, "Look, we're going to do exactly what Sony did. Screw them," the US FTC should be like, "Good for you. Good, you do that."
That's what protecting markets.
Yeah, they've been screwing over the marketplace for years and years. You do that.
Yeah. Well, get ready because I think Congress is going to ban TikTok, which is yet another.
Oh, they are
ridiculous overreach.
Sure, they're not alone though. By the way, the EU is going to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Xenophobia is the best, Leo. It's just unbelievable.
Well, I think it's a distraction from real privacy violations by American firms as much as by Chinese firms. I mean, do something about data brokers. How about that?
Yeah, that's right.
Not TikTok. This seems to be a proxy war.
You've allowed
like
Facebook
wars.
to do what it's done, but for some reason, TikTok is the problem.
Yeah, right.
like seriously, seriously.
I think America is a warlike nation, and we're proxy war with Russia right now in Ukraine, spending huge amounts of money on that.
We're passive aggressive, is what we are.
Yeah,
you know?
It's just kind of
we don't actually go after them directly.
We don't. Yeah, not blood, just treasure. Thank you.
It's like when Apple declared total war on Android and then sued Samsung. Like, wait, what? Like, didn't sue Google,
right.
The company that copied them. Well, I mean, Samsung did too, but I don't know.
I don't know, man. All right, let's talk about games. More about games. More of that game stuff.
What should we got? So actually, before we get to games, Ampere Analysis has estimated that Microsoft has sold approximately 18.5 million Xbox Series X and S consoles, compared to Sony's publicly stated 32 million units for PlayStation 5. So that makes sense, right? I mean, this kind of falls into where we think they are with regards to each other, et cetera, et cetera. There was this, we've kind of just stuck with this notion that maybe Sony was outselling Microsoft by about a 2-to-1 basis for a while. This is a little bit less than that. Well, it's actually significant. It's about almost like a 3-to-2, I would call it, or close to it. But yeah, so, okay, sure. Now it's likely that gap will grow in the coming year because Sony just apparently solved their supply issues. So PlayStation 5s are readily available now. Whereas I think the Xbox Series X is in particular still harder to find, although you can get an Xbox Series S, which is the cheap one, pretty easily. So that's kind of, I don't know where these things come from exactly, but I'm always interested in anything that hints at a hard number because Microsoft will never provide that number. What else have we got? So we know about Xbox Game Pass. We know about Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, but there's also a PC Game Pass. So this is $9.99 in the United States. This past week, Microsoft made this service available to 40 new markets in preview, including a bunch of countries in Europe, the Middle East, North Africa, and South America. So I don't know what the total is. I don't know if there's a total number of markets here, but I have to think, it's 86. How many countries are in the world? 87? I think this is most of them, right? So if you want to get on the PC Game Pass, chances are pretty good you can now access that subscription service no matter where you live. It's March 1st today as we record this, and that means we have a new selection of games with gold titles that are coming this month. And if you've been following along, you know that Microsoft dropped this from 4 games down to 2 at some point last year because they were running out of games, frankly. And now all the games we're getting are Xbox One or newer titles. So we've typically had 2 games each month. This month, we're actually getting 3, which is great. I don't know what any of these things are, which is not so great, but there's something called, I'm not going to pronounce this right, but Truber Brook. And then there's a World War II themed RTS game called Sudden Strike 4, the complete collection, which actually sounds pretty good. And then a survival horror game called Lamentum.
So, I guess they've run out of all the good names are taken at this point.
Yeah, it's like domain names. Yeah, good luck with that. And then finally, and actually this is interesting, this is kind of Richard themed in both ends. Microsoft has announced new content for Flight Simulator and Forza Horizon 5. So the new content for Flight Simulator is a world update for New Zealand, where Richard is now.
Didn't they also end the AN225?
Yeah, there was a plane that was separate from the world update, but yeah, the world's heaviest plane, is that the one?
Large, 6-engine, the one that was destroyed in the war.
Yeah,
parts for another one. It was it transported the Buran space shuttle, the Soviet space shuttle, back in the day.
Oh, cool. Okay, yeah. So this one has it's like high resolution imagery, right? We've seen this for various places, but the previous one, by the way, was for Canada. So it's almost like they're following you around.
I wanted to play Flight Simulator on my brand new TV, and it took. Well, not yet. It's still downloading. It had a big update. I hadn't updated in a while. Well, no,
you have a
it was on there.
hard drive in that thing.
Yeah, no, big. It was on there, but all of these updates are many more gigabytes. No, I have.
That's right.
They are.
Yeah.
Their world models are beautiful. Really.
I know.
I know. They're astonishing. Yeah, they really are nice.
I still want to beat Paul under the Eiffel Tower. That's my goal.
Right. I had to get rid of Flight Simulator on my console because I didn't have enough room for Call of Duty. But so you probably are going to beat me, unfortunately.
Looks good on that QD OLED, I got to say. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, I bet it does. How big? 76?
77.
77. Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
So world updates for Flight Sim are free. However you have it, if you have that game, you'll get this for free if you want it. And then Forza Horizon 5 is also getting new content with a Relic Adventure expansion pack. That's a paid add-on. The last one they did for this was really cool. That was the Hot Wheels one. But this costs $20. And you can get it as part of an expansion bundle or a different bundle. So cool. But if you have Game Pass for console or PC, it's free. You can get it through there.
That's awesome.
I think that's everything. Yep.
Yay. Mm-hmm. All right. Before we get to the back of the book, hey, everybody, it's Leo Laporte, the founder and host of many of the Twit podcasts. I don't normally talk to you about advertising, but I want to take a moment to do that right now. Our mission statement at Twit, we're dedicated to building a highly engaged community of tech enthusiasts. That's our audience. And you, I guess, since you're listening, by offering them the knowledge they need to understand and use technology in today's world. To do that, we also create partnerships with trusted brands and make important introductions between them and our audience. It's how we finance our podcasts, but it's also, and our audience tells us this all the time, a part of the service we offer. It's a valued bit of information for our audience members. They want to know about great brands like yours. So can we help you by introducing you to our highly qualified audience? And boy, you get a lot with advertising on the Twit podcasts. Partnering with Twit means you're going to get, if I may say so humbly, the gold standard in podcast advertising. And we throw in a lot of valuable services. You get a full service continuity team supporting everything from copywriting to graphic design. I don't think anybody else does this or does this as well as we do. You get ads that are embedded in our content that are unique every time. I read them, our hosts read them. We always over-deliver on impressions. And frankly, we're here to talk about your product. So we really give our listeners a great introduction to what you offer. We've got onboarding services, ad tech with pod sites. That's free for direct clients. We give you a lot of reporting so you know who saw your advertisement. You'll even know how many responded by going to your website. We'll also give you courtesy commercials that you can share across social media and landing pages. We think these are really valuable. People like me and our other hosts talking about your product sincerely and informationally. Those are incredibly valuable. You also get other free goodies, mentions in our weekly newsletter that's sent out to thousands of fans. We give bonus ads to people who buy a significant amount of advertising. You'll get social media promotion too. But let me tell you, we are looking for an advertising partner that's going to be with us long term. Visit twit.tv/advertise. Check out our partner testimonials. Tim Broom, founder of IT Pro TV. They started IT Pro TV in 2013, immediately started advertising with us, and grew that company to a really amazing success. Hundreds of thousands of ongoing customers. They've been on our network for more than 10 years, And they say, and I'll quote Tim, "We would not be where we are today without the Twit network." That's just one example. Mark McCrary, who's the CEO of Authentic, he was actually one of the first people to buy ads on our network. He's been with us for 16 years. He said, and I'm quoting, "The feedback from many advertisers over those 16 years across a range of product categories is that if ads and podcasts are going to work for a brand, they're going to work on Twitch shows." I'm proud to say that the ads we do over-deliver. They work really well because they're honest. They have integrity. Our audience trusts us, and we say, this is a great product. They believe it. They listen. Our listeners are highly intelligent. They're heavily engaged. They're tech-savvy. They're dedicated to our network. And that's partly because we only work with high-integrity partners that we have thoroughly and personally vetted. I approve every single advertiser on the network. If you're ready to elevate your brand and you've got a great product, I want you to reach out to us. Advertise at twit.tv. So I want you to break out of the advertising norm, grow your brand with host-read, authentic ads on twit.tv. Visit twit.tv/advertise for more details or email us advertise@twit.tv if you're ready to launch your campaign now. Paul Thurrott, Richard Campbell. I just want to put in a little plug. You probably have noticed somewhat of a dearth of advertising in all of our shows. That is not for lack of trying. We care a lot. And we have great sponsors, like our sponsor today, Melissa, who know what a big difference advertising on Twit can make for their business. That's why companies like Audible have been with us for so long. But in general, there's a downturn in podcast advertising, and that happens. You know, it's kind of a cyclic business. But we're not funded by a giant corporation. We don't have venture capital. And so when there's a downturn, the lights dim. We have to turn off a couple of cameras, you know? Worse, we might have to cancel shows. And we don't want to do that. So what we do is we go to you and ask you, just like public broadcasting does, to help us out. We created Club Twit 2 years ago. It's been 2 years now. To give people a chance to do that. It's $7 a month. Now you can, by the way, if you say, well, I'm going to give you 3 cups of coffee a month, you can up it if you want. But that $7 goes right into the general fund, keeps people employed, keeps shows going, helps us start new shows, keeps the club going. What do you get for $7? I think we give you good value for money. Ad-free versions of everything. So you're paying for it. You don't need to hear ads. You wouldn't even hear this ad if you were a club member. If that's not enough, we also give you access to, I think, what is the best social network in the world, our Discord, where people chat not only about the shows, but about all kinds of topics, including travel. And you know what? I should start a little trains section for you, Paul. All sorts of stuff. Anime, autos, cooking, beer, wine,
shows are good too.
Alcohol, brown liquor, blue liquor, whatever color liquor you want. It's all in the Discord, and that's a lot of fun because you're hanging out with people like you who are Club Twit members, Club Twit members only. That's one of the ways to make it a great social network. It's just to have a bar to entry. It works really nicely. And of course, we also give you stuff you don't get anywhere else, including on our regular feeds. We have Paul's Hands on Windows show, for instance. Micah Sargent does Hands on Macintosh, the Untitled Linux show, the Giz Fizz with Dick D. Bartolo. And all of that is because the club pays for it. The club members, you're supporting those shows, so you get them. I think it's a great deal, $7 a month, but mostly the reason you should do it is for the good feeling knowing you're supporting the content you like. Now, if you don't like our content, please don't participate. It's okay. It's only if you want to support what we're doing. I like our content. I'm proud of what we're doing. I love the team we put together. And I think we do a really good job personally. If you agree, twit.tv/clubtwit. Help us out. We only have one ad in the show today. We only have one ad in Twig yesterday, one ad in Mac Break Weekly. That's not quite break even. That means we're going to lose money on those shows. And we can only do that for so long before Leo's pockets are empty. So help us out here. See, empty, nothing. Twit.tv/clubtwit. Twit. It's an investment in great content, and we are very grateful to you. So with that, I thank all our members, all our Club Twit members, and we continue on with what we call the back of the book, Paul Thurrott and his tip of the week.
Oh, two things before that. Sorry. I just did an episode of Hands on Windows for that Moment 2 update that will be out a week from tomorrow. I was hoping to get it in this week, but there wasn't enough time.
Great. Oh, good.
So that's coming.
So you get a demo. And you do those in video, right? So people can see all that.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it's all screen stuff for the most part. God knows people don't want to look at me for too long. And I was just looking, as you started the ad earlier, I was looking at that Bing thing again. I remember I was telling you that it will load in your default browser, not in Microsoft Edge, which I'm still fascinated by. But I just went to the search interface and I clicked on the Bing logo, and it loads Edge. It loads Bing.
Edge.
No, but it loads in Brave. But it puts up this gigantic ad, and it says chat mode is only available when you have access to the new Bing. And then it says, which you have to use in Microsoft Edge.
Yeah.
So when I go to the new Bing in this browser, I don't get the ability to chat.
Let me try this. Let me try this. So
yeah,
I'm going to click that search pill. Remember, I set Firefox as my default, right? So
that's right.
It is the default. I'm going to click this little Bing logo right here.
It should load in Firefox.
Edge.
No, it didn't. I don't know what's going on here. All right. I will say this is the unpredictability I do expect from Microsoft. So I appreciate that part of it.
Is it? It's A/B testing and stuff. I mean,
I don't. You know what? I hate to ascribe some intelligence to what's happening. I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know. We literally just got this yesterday.
Sometimes A/B testing is actually AA testing.
AA.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm looking here, and even though I had set Firefox's default browser,
it still says set.
Yeah. So maybe it's not.
Let's
do this again.
Right. No,
let's do this again. It is the default browser. Yeah. Now let's try it again here. Let's do it. Let's hit the Bing thing, and Edge launches.
Still coming up in Edge. Yeah. So on mine, it's going to Brave. So I don't know.
But you're not. But see, you didn't get in. I'm in.
That's right. That's true.
And that was a prerequisite.
It might
of
be forcing
the
it
line.
because they really want that they're gonna. This is how they're gonna force Edge usage potentially, is make you use Edge to access that feature.
Yeah. So
this company.
All right, let's learn a new skill.
Yeah, let's. So as you know, Leo, because I've been talking about it incessantly for the past 5 years, I have kind of returned to my programming roots. I've been experimenting with programming for a long time now, and have written programs and have done all kinds of different things. But there's kind of this gap between, you can watch a video about a language or a new version of a language or a new framework or whatever it is. You can listen to podcasts, you can read books, but you have to code. Like coding is like golf. You can't like dabble in it. You have to do it. You have to do the thing to become skilled in it. And it requires time, whatever that amount of time is. And it's hard to find the incentive to do things like, I came up with this thing where I said, well, I'm going to try to, originally I was just planning to demonstrate how easy it would be to create the UI for a Notepad-like application using XAML. And then as I did it, I realized, it'd be pretty easy just to write the whole application. Maybe I should do that. And I've recreated it in different languages and frameworks and so forth. But after a while, it's like, okay, I've done the Notepad thing a few times, so maybe it's time to move on. It's hard to find that thing. It's hard to find a thing that will keep you coding every day if you're not a professional programmer. So it's not something I do for my job. And so what I found is two things. You can, and I was watching a random video. It was just about JavaScript. It had nothing to do with anything, but this guy had two little bits of advice that I found really interesting. One is, and Leo knows all about this stuff. This is not going to be news to you, but there are coding challenges websites like Edibit, where you can go and click on the language you want, and you can go through easy,
fun,
medium, complex, whatever. Yeah, I spent literally 3 hours on one of these things the other night. Not on one challenge. I'm sorry, just on doing many challenges.
I love it.
Yeah, it's. I find that to be.
It's a game for me.
There you go. It's a gamification.
It's like a crossword. Yeah. It's like a crossword puzzle. And I do it because I want to keep my chops up and I want to keep my brain working because I don't have any coding assignments. I'm not a professional coder. I mean, I could make up a project like your Notepad.
That's exactly right.
But honestly, I kind of more prefer having these little discrete challenges, like the advent of code.
I do too.
Project Euler is great. There's Hacker Rank. There's a ton of these. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I've not researched it further.
I have a whole folder of links to these.
There you go.
Yeah.
But they're
also good when you are a professional developer, because
there you go. Yeah, keep yourself. Yeah.
You press against the edges of your skills, right? Like normally, if I'm paying you to develop, I don't really want you to be at the edge of your skills. I want you to be right at that 80% point where I know you can do this reliably.
Right.
I like every once in a while I'll just use a simple example. It'd be like, count the number of digits in a number. And I think, well, this is really easy. This is in JavaScript. They'll convert it to a string. And then that's easy. You can just parse a string. And then you read the instructions, and at the bottom says, try to do this without converting it to a string. like, nice.
I think for me, never having studied computer science, it forces me and teaches me how to learn things like algorithms. The nice thing about advent of code is he will almost always come up with challenges that you have to pay attention to efficiency as well. You pay attention to your big O notation, because the brute force method, while it works, will take 3 trillion years. And so as a result, you learn these algorithms, and I feel like this is cool. I'm expanding my knowledge and my brain, and it's fun.
And you're using your brain. It's super healthy. I mean, this is really,
to me, it's like, it's like woodworking. I don't, I remember when I was a young guy, an older guy said, now what do you do with your hands? You got to do something with your hands. I didn't really want to tell him what I do with my hands. So I said, I don't do anything with my hands. And he said, well, you got to. And I think maybe that's true, except I'm a klutz. So I do something with my brain.
I'm not doing my hands either.
Yeah. But it's like that. It's something to keep your chops up. I like it.
I also, when you think about, like, you could look this up, like, what are the best, like, I'm looking for ideas, like, what are the best types of apps I should make? You always get the same list. It's like to-do app, calculator, weather app, it's always the same kind of thing. But the thing that's goofy about that to me is, like, I've looked at so many of these things, and, like, you look at a to-do app, like, every time somebody creates a to-do app, they're not really creating a to-do app. They're creating this, like, part of a to-do app. It's just like, here's an app that you can add to it, and you can take away, and you can check things off. And it's like, that's cute, but I want this to connect to a backend service. Like, I want to be able to hit this. I want to be able to sign in and get this data from anywhere, like a real app, and those things are actually kind of hard to find. So I'm going to look into doing, I might do some.
Your exercise is going to be, how do I put a file in the cloud that multiple endpoints can connect to simultaneously?
That's right. And actually, the ideal way for me to do that would be to create a to-do app first in a command line environment using C# and whatever, and then do various GUIs on top of it, because it's going to be the same backend code. Like, once I figure out how to sync this thing up to the cloud, the UI shouldn't matter. The UI is just, window dressing, literally. I mean, anyway,
but you also have to decide on merge conflict, right? Okay, now two different entities are ending the same.
Yes. Exactly. Right. Exactly. Anyway, there's a whole world out there, and I'm interested in programming, so that's my thing. But I feel like if whatever you might be interested in, there must be similar things like this to, if you're learning a foreign language, maybe, which I guess is also a language.
Yeah, that's a good example, because there's 15 different apps that you could put on your phone that'll teach you a foreign language.
Yep.
I play chess. Chess.com or Lichess, which is free and open source, LICHESS, are great sites. You can put it on your phone. You can play against real people, machines. That's another one. Or do problems. That's great for your brain. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this is pretty important. In fact, they're still around these category of apps, brain games apps.
Yeah.
Supposedly designed by scientists to keep your brain nimble. So they have mixes of different styles of games. That's the one thing I worry about with coding is it's this part right here of my brain. So I want to get this other part too. That's why I'm taking up plein air painting. And
plein air?
Plein air. I'm going to get an easel.
Like plein air?
I'm going to get a hat. I'm going to go out in the countryside.
And are you going to be like Bob Ross?
Fluffy little trees.
Paint the happy little trees.
Happy little trees.
Nothing. Everything is happy accident. Right?
I always imagine. So
That's how I code, by the way. Everything is a happy accident.
I was an artist in a former life, and I always had this dream that I would set up an easel in front of a beautiful landscape somewhere and do exactly what you're describing.
Yeah.
But then paint some horrific scene so that when people came over to look at what I was looking at,
H.R. Geiger,
like, what the hell is that?
Plein air painting.
And I'd be like, that's how I see the world.
Yes.
Just to mess with them.
Every airplane is crashing. Every car is on fire.
Yep. Everything. Why is everything on fire in your painting? Oh boy,
this is fine.
This is fine. Exactly.
Yeah, I should put together a list because I have.
Yeah, I'd like to see one. Actually,
I will. I'll send it to you, and maybe we can put it somewhere anyway. Because I do. I
want to go through and do these in different languages. You know, I'm right now. I'm just screwing out with JavaScript for no reason whatsoever. But it's interesting to me what the differences are between it and other languages and whatever. But I mean, I could picture trying to do the same challenges in different languages, even,
There are a number of them like HackerRank that you choose the language.
Yes.
Some of them, I have to say, I've been spoiled by advent of code. The only problem is it's only 1 month a year, but it's really well done because everybody gets different problem data, so everybody comes up with a different answer, so you can't really cheat. And that means you can write in any language you want. You just have to get that number at the end.
Well, I will say, so the ones I'm doing, they have sample inputs, and they give you the results, and then you spit it out in the console, and it's all the right values. And you're like, yep. Yeah. Like it's always nice. It's a nice little feedback loop,
Project Euler is very well known for numeric problems, like the one you described. I'm trying to think of some other ones. I've done a whole bunch of them. Truthfully, because I'm a very slow coder, advent of code, even though it's an advent calendar, so it's just 25 problems in the month of December, usually takes me all year. So, so I have plenty to do.
Whatever. I mean, but you're not
I'm not a professional.
This isn't your career.
No.
Right. I mean, that's, I think this is a good use of time, personally.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I love it.
You guys want to put some pressure on yourselves, start tinkering with Home Assistant. Then you got a little program, hardware problem, and your wife's mad at you. It's the perfect
Honey, the lights keep coming on. Well, that's so the train can see as it comes through town.
That pressure, it has to work.
Yeah,
it's like otherwise you're just tinkering.
Yeah,
I am tinkering. I actually, to me, especially because I do it in functional code, it is like making little boxes, little, steam engines that interconnect. And so for me, it's
trying to get me interested in functional programming.
Oh, it's so much fun,
with
Paul.
A train.
it's so. She said, "Well, I need a little box that does this, and then I need a little box that does this, and we connect the two together. And I need a little box that does that."
Not just going down that path. Right, code that's hard to read.
Right.
My code is easy.
I do value readability over anything else.
I comment heavily. In fact, I'm a fan of literate programming. That's the Donald the Knuth idea that you're really writing prose with some code snippets, and then the code executes. But I don't actually work in a literate programming environment, so I just have a lot of comments.
So Donald Knuth, is that how we say his name?
Oh, that's how I say it. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I'm not. I asked because I'm not sure. Charles Petzold to me is kind of a similar character.
Yeah, legendary. Yeah,
of course.
Yeah,
he wrote the Programming Windows books, which was the straight C API stuff. And before there was a Windows, well, that's not true. There was a Windows. Around the same time, there was early versions of Windows. Microsoft at one point was going to go off and do OS2 with IBM. Yeah. And so the original OS2 APIs were based on the Windows APIs. They're very similar. So this wasn't actually in the programming Windows, but it was in programming OS2. And I always thought this was the best. He basically just said, there's only two things you got to do to make a Windows program. You create a window, and then you create a message loop. The rest are just details. I'm like, yep, no, that's true. That's
pretty much true. Yeah.
You've obscured the 99.9% of the application that's really hard, but it's like, it's a nice way of looking at it, I guess. But
Well, that's somebody was complaining. He said, "I hope that Windows Weekly doesn't become a programmer's show." But all three of us do code. One of us does it for real.
Let me make
a professional programmer is somebody who's paid to write code.
Right.
Nobody's paid to write code.
So
I'll just make this.
We all do it for fun.
I'll make this defense of that, which is that, this is the premise of that Programming Windows series I wrote, and whatever this book is that eventually comes out of it, which is that to truly understand this platform that you claim to love so much, you really need to know how to write apps for it, because that's how that explains the what of the why.
Well, absolutely. And I would say that is, I may not still be true, but boy, for when I was starting out learning about computing, the fact that I could write code and was writing assembly code on Macs and Ataris and was really helpful.
Sure.
I understood the hardware, how it worked, and that's held me in good stead.
In my career, you think about it, people who are reporters or reviewers or bloggers now, you go to some Microsoft event, and you're talking to people or engineers perhaps about some product, they can quickly figure out who in the room knows what they're talking about. And one of the ways you can know what you're talking about is to have a deeper technical understanding of the topic.
Right.
There are a lot of people there from mainstream publications who can, spot a flower in a UI or something, but they don't understand how things are made. And you can see them light up a little bit. This is something I've experienced over my life where they get a little run down by having to deal with the normies. Right. And then I walk in the room and we start talking and they're like, nice.
Much better.
You understand where we're at.
Much better.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some sense of what's hard and what's easy.
Yeah. All right.
Anyway, we will not become a developer show. We do like to talk about it because it's our hobby.
No.
But Richard brings a lot of enterprise experience. Paul is right down in the weeds with how Windows works. I think we've got a pretty good team to do this show, and of course, Paul.
Oh yeah, of course.
Has been covering Microsoft for a long time, and I love Linux. So those are my credentials.
Leo is what we call the Loki character, the sower of discord and chaos. He just runs in and he's like, "What about Linux?
What about Linux? Hey, you guys ever tried Linux? I use Arch, by the way." So that was our tip of the week.
Yes, the app pick will be much quicker. So I mentioned earlier in the show that I took an ISO that was downloaded by Parallels and turned it into a bootable USB drive. And I used a tool called Rufus. You should use this for this type of thing. Free. Yeah, it is. And the reason it's so great is because it's automatic. It looks at the thing you're trying to make a disk out of and it says, hey, it looks like you're trying to make a Windows boot disk. It needs to be like this. And you're like, yep, you do whatever you want. And if it's a Windows 11 ISO, it actually gives you those choices now where you can bypass the hardware requirements if that's what you want to do. So it's kind of the all-in-one tool. There's a portable version if you want that, but lightweight, super easy to install, super easy to use, really quick too, by the way. It's just this is one of those tools that should be in everyone's tool set. So I can't imagine most of you haven't heard of it, I guess. But
we all endorse it. Yeah.
Yes. Very, very good.
And Rufus was briefly the way you could use a local login, right? That's not the case anymore?
It still is. No, they still do that. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, that's one of the things they bypass. Yep.
What's on this week on RunAs Radio? Is it running without you, or are you still doing it from far?
It's all pre-recorded. So these are actually shows that I recorded at the NDC conference in London a few weeks ago now, actually. It's been a while. And so this is the first time I'd ever talked to Leslie Cordero. She works for the New York Times in their IT department. And we were talking about reliability management. We actually got really stuck on this one key topic, which was when you're on call, so you're being paid to be available to provide support on demand or for reliability, like keeping a site up through the weekend, that kind of thing. What do you do when you're not actually fighting the fire? And often these folks are also writing code. So it's like, well, then you work on your sprint items. And she pushed back on that, saying like, no, because it's so interruptible, the code you write for your sprint in those scenarios is inevitably bad.
True. Yeah.
So she was pushing back more on this idea of work on preventative measures. fix stuff. Like more of the things you would never otherwise get to that tend to be smaller. In fact, it's worthwhile to build up the sort of repertoire of projects inside of your organization that they're all maintenance. They're technical debt. They're those kinds of things that can be tinkered with in the 8 or 10 hour shift you're doing on call.
That makes sense.
In between.
Do your automation, do your DevOps stuff like that.
All those kinds of things. I mean, anyway, it turned into a real powerful conversation that I thought people
sounds
would
great.
appreciate.
Yeah.
A wicked smart person. Just like she's got it going on. It's fun to talk to someone who's in the trenches, like had been on call that week.
Wow. At New York Times too. Wow. Very interesting. Cool.
She's got her hands full because she has to deal with Kevin Roos. So.
Oh God. Do you think? Yes, I have to say, having worked in organizations covering technology, where you have people like me, the reporters, and you have the actual IT people and technology people, for the most part,
they must hate each other.
They go. Get out of here.
Very clear of each other. They're nowhere near each other.
The guy in the meeting
Kevin,
was like,
get out of here.
But do you know that?
No.
He's like, yeah, we know.
Have
Just
you
shut
heard
up.
of React? It's really, I'm very excited about jQuery.
Yeah, exactly.
And they go, yeah, get out of here. Most of the IT people I've worked with have real, just like that thing you talked about, Paul, where if you could say a few things that sound, are you using Postgres or MySQL today? They get a little more excited.
They just bury their heads in their hands. Here we go.
No.
Here we go.
Nothing you would care about, Leo.
I tell you what I care about, brown liquor. What do you got for us?
Well, we've been doing this How You Make Scottish Whiskey series, and last week we were talking about the barley part and the fact that because there's so much demand for Scottish whiskey these days, most barley is shipped to the distilleries as grist, already malted, dried, and ground to specification. And I haven't really gone through all of these different steps. So we know it's a particular kind of barley that they tend to use, particularly the two-row barleys. But malting, we talk about whiskey being single malt, and we can get into what single malt actually means at some point. But malting is the process of turning that dry kernel of barley into enough sugar that you can actually make some wort from it through a wash process. So you have to essentially sprout the barley. That's malting. Oh. And again, most distilleries today have this done by a commercial service. They don't do it themselves, but there are an exception, and that's my pick of the day, which is from the Bowmore distillery. Their Bowmore 15, which is a favorite of mine. Not especially pricey, about $70 if you can find it. It is a peated whiskey because it is from Islay, and we'll talk about why that is. And aged in bourbon casks, American bourbon casks, because they're plentiful, and then finished in sherry casks. So again, you don't know when you put it into a barrel how long you're going to leave it in the barrel for, but when it gets to a certain flavor profile, if you're happy with it, then you would put it into a finishing barrel for 3 years or so. So for a Bowmore 15, it spent 12 years in bourbon, and now it's spent 3 years in sherry, and you get it quite out what they call a burnt sienna, this very reddish color in the whiskey. Drinks very nicely, smooth, but peated.
Huh. Yeah,
because
peated
after
is tough.
You have to be up for the peat. Is that something you want? And Bowmore is an unusual distillery because they malt their own barley. So they buy barley from a bunch of different places. Can't only get it in Scotland. They don't get enough of it. And then they'll soak it in water for 27 hours, as they say. They're particular about the river to get the water from, all these little details. And then they'll spread it out on these stone floors in their malt barns.
Oh my God.
And let it sit for days. And about every 24 hours, they'll turn it. They'll turn over the malt until it's sprouted, till it's what they call green malt. So the long chain carbohydrates that are made in the seed that are very durable begin to enzymatically process into sugars, which then can be made into the plant. So now you have a little bit of root poking out the bottom of the seed, a little bit of stem poking out the top of the seed. It's been malted. And now it has to be killed, dried. And so that is.
And now it has to be killed?
K-I-L-N. He's pronouncing it properly.
Killed. I was okay.
Killed is how you say it, though. Yeah.
Gotcha.
But killed is also correct because you are going to now kill the plant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's funny because when I make brown rice, I sprout it. I like sprouted grains. It was more healthful for you. So it's interesting. Well, I didn't realize that's what malting was.
It makes it more healthy. It's exactly what it is.
Easier to digest.
Yeah.
So to dry the malt to stop it from growing before you're going to now grind it up to then send to the wash. It's put into kilns where it is heated, typically about 60 degrees centigrade, enough to stop the growing process and be ready for grinding. Dry it out enough that it'll grind well, not go mushy. Now, the Islay is a region in Scotland. It's an island. It's an island and it's extremely windy. And so they don't have very many trees there. And so they use peat to run their furnaces for malting.
Wow.
Because they don't have anything else. And that's where the smoke flavor, the peaty flavor comes from. Is that you have peated the malt by drying it by burning by burning peat.
I'll be diggity danged. Look, they do it in a barn that's made of windows.
They malt.
Nice. The Windows logo.
Yeah. This is really interesting, Rich. I'm glad you're doing this. I also know this would be a good whiskey to have for this weekend because Formula One kicks off this weekend, and they have an Aston Martin version of the Bowmore, which is hysterical. Wow. And I'm a Fernando Alonso fan, so I'm going to get one of these Aston Martin versions.
An old Aston.
Look at that old Aston. Yeah. That's the James Bond Aston Martin. And there's the F1
car. Pre-James Bond Aston.
So I'm going to, this one is, these are the racing Astons. So I'm going to definitely have to go with one of those for F1 weekend. Wow. Bowmore.
So that's the Bowmore. This is a cigar whiskey. If you like smoking cigars,
which I do,
you'll like this. Yeah. Those two get along very, very well. I do not like cigars.
Yep.
But when I'm, say, smoking a brisket, if I'm stoking myself through smoke, I'm perfectly happy to be drinking this.
There you go.
I can't smoke cigars. Bad for you. But I do smoke a lot of brisket. I'm going to get some Bowmore. We'll have an F1 and brisket weekend. How about that?
Very interesting. That'd be some good fun.
The jury's still out on which is worse for you, smoking cigarettes or eating brisket. But, we'll leave that for another day.
Listen, but if you had to choose.
Pretty sure the jury's not out.
You kind of do.
It depends how much brisket you eat.
Mm-hmm.
And whether you eat the fatty end or the dry end. Anyway, that is another story for another day. Richard, you're great. Thank you for going all the extra mile to do the show from Auckland to New Zealand.
It worked out very well, I think. And tomorrow,
I could never do this en route. That is amazing.
Well, it did. It worked out great.
This week we'll be at the farm. I'll try and stick a camera outside so you can see the farm is in the Shire. Those rolling hills and so forth. So.
I hope all your doors are round.
Not true, but yeah.
Richard is the star, the host, the man in charge of RunAs Radio, runasradio.com. He also does .NET Rocks. You'll find him on both those places. Keeps very busy. Always appreciated. And, of course, our newest co-host. People still come by and say, where did Mary Jo go?
I know.
So you would listen a lot, don't you?
You must be big fans, huh?
That's what gets me. It's like, I really miss Mary Jo. She's been gone for months.
That's like when people write me and they say, how come, here's a news story you might be interested in. And you're like, thanks for that link to The Verge. I wrote about this 3 days ago.
Don't send him links to The Verge, kids. Mary Jo is doing great. I know you're in regular touch with her. We're going to get her on for the next earnings learnings if we can. But she is busy as an analyst now.
Yeah. We'll get her on here.
Yeah, it'd be great to have her back. But Richard is a very capable replacement. We're really thrilled to have Richard on the show. Thank you, Richard, for joining the team. Of course, Paul Thurrott started this show way back when. I was listening.
Windows XP was still the going concern when we started this show.
It's mind-boggling. We've grown old together, Paul, you and I. He is at Thurrott.com, THURROTT.com. And, of course, his book, The Field Guide to Windows 11, is at leanpub.com. It encapsulates the Field Guide to Windows 10. You get both for one price. And soon, a new book. He's working on it right now, leanpub.com. Next time we speak, I guess it'll be in Mexico City.
Yes. Yep. I'll be in Mexico.
It'll be a truly international show all over the world. That should be fun. Yeah. We do Windows Weekly on Wednesdays, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. If you are in Auckland, you will be glad to know it is 1900 UTC on a Thursday.
Well, you'll be less glad to know it's about 7 o'clock in the morning for you, or whatever time. It must be something like that.
He says it's 5 hours plus a day. I don't know what that.
Yeah,
I don't know the math.
That's a lot of hours.
Do join us if you want to watch live at live.twit.tv. Watching live, chat live at irc.twit.tv. You don't need an IRC client, just a browser. Although if you have one, it's a real IRC, amazing real IRC chat room. We also have a Discord, something a little more modern, a Discord chat room. The chief difference is the Discord chat room has animated GIFs, but that's for the club members. If you're not a member, join, and you can join us in the Discord. After the fact, on-demand versions of the show available at the website twit.tv/WW for Windows Weekly. There's a Windows Weekly YouTube channel, and of course, you can always subscribe in your favorite podcast player, and that way you'll get it the minute it's available. We thank you all for being here. All you winners and all you dozers, have a great week. We'll see you next time on Windows Weekly. Bye-bye.
Hey, I'm Rod Pyle, Editor-in-Chief of Ad Astra Magazine, and each week I join with my co-host to bring you This Week in Space, the latest and greatest news from the final frontier. We talk to NASA chiefs, space scientists, engineers, educators, and artists, and sometimes we just shoot the breeze over what's hot and what's not in space, books, and TV. And we do it all for you, our fellow true believers. So whether you're an armchair adventurer or waiting for your turn to grab a slot in Elon's Mars rocket, join us on This Week in Space and be part of the greatest adventure of all time.